let's start here. We're gonna actually start with last year's Hoopla, because I just wanted to talk about a couple of favorites that I did and just show how I've taken those ideas from last year and did something a little different this year. And then we'll get into some newer stuff. Let me just move this tray out of the way. All right, just gotta be careful. All right. There we go. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna start with this. I'm gonna start with this one because I did touch base on this during, I think it was the Idea-ology Christmas Live, and a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. You need to do a video on it. And I'm like, I've done a video on it. So this was something that I shared during the holiday Hoopla last year. Mari, if you don't mind putting the link up for that. You can go back and rewatch it anytime. It's timestamped now, so you can go right to the timestamp for this particular one. But this is what we talked about doing, is creating these little, I don't know, these little gingerbread kind of houses. And so the dies used for this is called the Paper Village. So this is different than the Village collection. The Paper Village, there are two different ones, 1 and 2. They're not really numbered 1 and 2. I'll just put the numbers there for a bit. They should still be available. These are from Sizzix. These are just smaller houses. You can see the size. They're just tinier houses. So it is different than the Village collection that you see where you're making kind of those bigger houses. And the Hoopla last year just had a good time just talking about cutting these out of craft stock, using the thing that we did on the Santa mug, you know, the texture paste and that little piping squeezy tube that you can do, adding Idea-ology confections, a little splatter paint. But these you can light up. You can use them for ornaments, whatever. I used them this year when I found that I saw some of these tins pop up, and I think they're probably sold out since then, but this was the Idea-ology tin and kind of lit it up. Let me turn it on. There's tiny lights in there. There you go. But I already had one made from the Hoopla, so I just stuck that in, put a little lantern, did some trees. This was the whole rock candy and hairspray thing. So maybe you guys remember this from Idea-ology, but it was cool because, again, compartmental making, I already had these made from last year that I never did anything with. And I'm like, oh, cool. So putting together this project went really, really quick. So if you're looking just to make some little houses or something, I recommend going back to that Hoopla and check it out because it's just fun ideas. That's the thing. You know, we're looking for new inspiration, yes, but have you really put all that previous inspiration to use? Maybe yes, maybe no. All right, let me set this off to the side. All right, then I'm gonna bring this one in. This was a fun one because, again, we're kind of getting to the whole repurposing ideas, but I wanted to talk about it because, of course, we had a new rock candy in the world, right? We had Chunky that was released this year. So this was also shared last year's Hoopla, and essentially it's super, super simple. Shout out to Mario for helping me because Mario was doing all the painting and helping me prep for this one. So he did a good job painting, especially on that snowman. So this is about when you're out and about and you find things maybe out of wood, maybe it's paper mache, maybe it's just anything plain, and you think, oh, I really like the shape or the design, but you know, what can I do with it? The nice thing about this is that you could turn these into, these actually came with little screw eyes, but these could be ornaments. These could go onto a package, maybe on a stocking, around a bottle of wine, a gift. And all you do is take any kind of acrylic paint. We just use distress paint, paint it, just put it on like a popsicle stick so you can paint it or hold on to it, but gluing it onto a popsicle stick and twisting it off is way easier. These are little snowmen I found this year. They're cute. And once the paint is dry, you're done. That's kind of your base color. You're going to go in and glitter it. Now, remember when the rock candy came out, I'm going to bring these in. Woohoo! Remember these beauties. We talked about coloring glitter, coloring rock candy, regular glitter and Chunky with alcohol ink. And so made these great little sets of glitter. I just love this. I love that I have all these different glitters and all these different colors. And I just have them in much smaller, more manageable containers this year. So this, of course, is the regular glitter. And look at Chunky. Oh my gosh, the colors. Woo, magic. So I just wanted to revisit it to be like, if you colored glitter last year, or maybe you colored it this year after you watched that live and you're like, oh, I haven't really done anything. So simple. You take any foundation, you paint it, and I recommend painting it with the similar base color that you're going to glitter it, because if the glitter doesn't cover 100%, it's really easy to go in and like do it. I saw on here, tell us how. If you go back and watch the rock candy live that we did, we demoed exactly how to create this, so you can check that out. So these were the ones that we did in the Hoopla last year. This is with the tinted rock candy. Aren't these beautiful? Amazing, right? How you can just take just a plain wood, whatever, and turn these into magic. This could be for a table centerpiece. You know it, I found some big trees this year. Look at those. Whew. All right, but I wanted to see what would it look like instead of just using the regular rock candy, which is beautiful. What would it look like with chunky? I mean, you know it and you guys already see it. It's like fabuloso. Look at the difference. So this is just tinted chunky. So I didn't do any of the, I mean, you could do a blend. We've talked about blending the glitters, but I love just that whole chunky and how sparkly it is. Beautiful. If you wanted to add chunky to these, you could. You could still go in with your collage medium or glossy accents or whatever liquid glue that you use, and you could add some chunky to your previously glittered ones, but these are just chunky, and this is just the regular rock candy. Of course, tinted, of course. So beautiful, right? This we talked about just doing some metallics, and of course, I could have done chunky metallics, but I had other things that we were prepping. But I do love this guy. He's really cute. Look at that little snowman. So this is just taking, this was black rock candy and of course the regular clear rock candy. I did use the blend on the body because I already had that mixture of large and small in the clear, right? My little mixture jar. So we did that, but cute. But again, there could be so many things, and these are really easy to do. These are things that you could find. You could even find them at like thrift stores where you look in the bags of junk and it's just stuff. And as long as you can repaint it, it doesn't really matter what it's made out of. If it's made out of resin or ceramic, as long as you can paint it and add glue to it, it's really, really good. It's like, that's really the magic. Beautiful though, isn't it? Ooh. Does it rub off? It would rub off if you rubbed it, but I mean, when you glue it, the chunky, it definitely comes off on your fingers until you roll all the excess off. But the different thing about this glitter is the glitter doesn't become airborne and it doesn't have that static charge. So see, it just flakes off. But yeah, if you have a glitter phobe in the house, you may just want to avoid this craft altogether. There you go. All right, beautiful, beautiful. So just wanted to revisit those because again, you may have made these, but you haven't used them. And this is the easiest, coolest way, I think, to use it. It's just a lot of inspiration there. All right, I'm gonna take these because I might need these later. I never know if I'm gonna need rock candy, so I don't wanna take it out of the way. I'm just gonna hand you those, just put it on the table, thanks. Because I might want it back, you know me. You know me, I may not. I'm gonna put those on the shelf. Okay, one other thing to reference, and then we're going to get into some new things. And I talked about this during the Santa mug the whole season. If you've made up one of these trays, whether it's a muffin tin or anything that you're creating, definitely go in and utilize those elements. Get that out, put that in your space, whether you're looking for baubles or confections, or if you've already made, some Santa mugs that you want to use, add a side, add a mind. So if you've made some sort of tray, or even if you've done some little compartmental making, get those things out so you can go in and kind of create with them. This is something that I've talked about doing, like, having little wreaths already made, or maybe some trees. And this was, I think I talked about this possibly during Ideology when I shared some of the trees that I did. And I didn't really touch base on this because this is using a glitter that I think retired, I don't know, 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, but I found it online. And so if you're a retailer that have it, definitely say that you have it. I saw this at Simon Says Stamp. I'm like, where did you get that stuff? This stuff has been gone forever. When Ranger first did seasonal, we did this distress glitter in a metallic in 2 colors. Now, I will preface this. If you are a glitter phobe, this is not the one for you. This is completely different than rock candy. But this one is called Tinsel. There was Tinsel and Garland. Tinsel's my favorite because it's kind of this platinum, but it is ultra, ultra fine glitter. I won't even demo this because this is an outdoor glitter activity, because this stuff does become airborne. It is finer than the finest glitter, but the end result is just pure nostalgic, twinkly magic. So if you were looking for things, because I did get some comments going, what glitter did you use on the silver tree? Well, this was a glitter, but I didn't want to send you on a goose chase. So if you didn't pick this up, I saw some jars at Simon Says, and like I said, if you're a retailer that have it, say that you have it too, because wow, who knew it was around? It's cool stuff, but I will warn you, I would recommend doing it outside if you can. As soon as the jar opens, it's just that fine. But once you glue it down, you're good to go. Beautiful. All right. So for the most part, I didn't really utilize a lot of this stuff today because, like I said, it was more upcycling. But there are a couple of things that I did. So, all right, I was going to give it to Mario. I'm like, I may need it back. Mario's like, I'll take it. Oh, you can go ahead and take it. Okay. If I need it back, I'll grab it. Thanks, Mario. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, guys, ready? Let's get into it. So the first thing I saw this year that I was like, that's really cool, are these acrylic things. And again, if you go out looking at Christmas, this could even be like TJ Maxx, Home Goods. You see a lot of acrylic Christmas stuff. Acrylic is just that beautiful plastic, and some people love it as is. Some people love the idea that it just looks like glass, and they do. For me, it could be something else. So I found these trees, and these were all different sizes, but I loved how tiny these were. And I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if I could transform these somehow? Now, I will say this particular set of trees has different color lights in it. Let's see if I can open it up. There we go. Let's take them out. They're not, I mean, they're just trees. See, little plastic ones. And then the light in them, it's like, it has all different colors. So, but it'll change. I mean, it is nice. So see, it goes to green and to red, like the traditional ones. It's not just white. But maybe you can find trees that are just white. They're beautiful, right? They look pretty. I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if we could just take that and transform it with a very simple product? Could be the mixture, could be these. That's just what I did. And I think that the end result is really, really pretty because it's very wintry, it's very sparkly, and it's just, well, it's rock candy perfection. And the light, I mean, this is of course in the daylight in front of a studio light. So, but the fact that you can still see the glitter and the color here, I'll even cover it in my hand. Like, look at that. They're so, so pretty. And they still twinkle. See that little glitter right there? Because it's got a little bit of chunky. So that's something that's really pretty. And it does give a vintage vibe because I've seen a lot of vintage ornaments that have like this glittery look to them. And this to me looks pretty modern. So I'm just going to talk about how to do it. It couldn't be easier. All right. So maybe you're finding, maybe they're icicles, right? Maybe you're actually using this because I want you to think beyond the object. You know, sometimes people get really fixated on the object. Maybe you found acrylic icicles that you want to hang on your tree, but they just look like plastic like this, and you wanted to give it a sugary, wintry finish. Okay. All we need is glitter and glue. That's it. And you could use whatever liquid glue of choice. I talked about this again in previous videos. Use whatever glue you like. These are the two that I recommend that I find work the best with glitter. I have Glossy Accents and I have Resist Spray. And I did both because I wanted to show you the difference, because there is a difference in these two adhesives with the outcome, and hopefully the camera will pick it up. This first one is Glossy Accents. Now, Glossy Accents is a fast drying, shiny, glossy, dimensional adhesive, okay? Will alcohol ink stick to acrylic? Yes, it will. We'll talk about alcohol ink a little later. So this one you can see I painted on, and I'll demo this, covered it with glitter, and you have this beautiful, sparkly Christmas tree. But as I mentioned, this stuff dries really quick. And because it's thick, it's a glossy accent, is an accent, it really covers fairly uniform, if you will. All right, so you can see the glittery goodness of that. Then I wanted to use Resist Spray. Now, Resist Spray, you can spray it on. I prefer to put it in a cup and paint it on. But then I did a tree with Resist Spray, and I noticed a difference. And again, I'm not sure if the camera is going to pick it up as distinct as it is in person, but in between the branches, so not the tips, but in between, it's really white and snowy. And I was like, why is that? Well, when you paint this stuff on, because it is so liquid, it pulls up in between all of these branch areas. And so when I dusted it with glitter, more glitter kind of, I guess, soaked into that liquid glue, and it created more of a snowy in between. So let's see if, now that I explained it, there you go. You can see the side by side. This is definitely more just clear and glitter. This one you can see kind of that buildup around the branches of almost white snow. They are both equally as beautiful. I just was surprised. I kind of surprised myself. I'm like, I didn't think there'd be a difference, but there is. So if you want something that's more snowy, use resist spray as your glue because the fluid part will build up. And if you want something that's more glittery, use glossy accents. So let's just do a demo on them just to show you. It's really easy, okay? So I've talked about this before as well, so I'm just gonna reference it. When I use glossy accents as a glue, I prefer the small bottles because it doesn't clog. It's so easy to do. Anytime I have a big bottle of glossy accents, I have already cut off the nib. I just use this when I want like a puddle of it to paint it on, and that's what I do. Of course, you want to store this upright. If you ever decide to cut off the nib, store it upright, because if you store it on the side, it's just going to fill up the cap with glossy accents. But this way I can just squirt out a blob and paint it on, okay? Easy enough? Okay, let's see, do I have, all right, I got it. Okay, perfect. So let's just do a tree. I think the first one I'll do resist spray first, and then we'll do glossy accents, because I'll do both of them. There's two of them here. Excellent. So simple stuff. So when you're thinking like, because this was seasonal in these jars, and chunky is only seasonal, this is sold every day in a smaller jar, but you're like, oh, do I really need that much glitter? Like I've already used up 2 of these easy just from stuff I've done around the house. Okay, so just know that if you like glitter, it's a good idea to stock up on it now because it will not be manufactured until next year from Ranger. All right, and I think I'm going to use the mixture because that's what I did on these. So my mixture is just pretty much equal parts of these that I just poured some in. I didn't do any measuring, and I just mixed the 2 together, and I marked my little bottle mixture because I love the dustiness of the regular, and I love the reflection of the chunky. So you're going to see me use that a lot, okay? Let's take a brush. I'm just going to use, I'll just use a regular sloppy brush. And I think I'll use some palette paper. If you could work on a glass mat, this will all come off of a glass mat, but just figure out things that are going to work for you. I'm just going to use a bucket for glitter. I normally use a smaller thing, but this one, well, you'll see, it's just going to get a little sloppy. Good. Okay, we have everything there. Easy enough. So for our resist spray, I'm just using a cup so I can pour some of the resist spray in. Like I said, if you're using this and you're going to spray it on, you can, but you waste an awful lot of the spray for no reason because we're not going for a spray pattern. Okay. So let me just take some of this. Just going to pour it in. You don't need a lot. You can always add more, and you can always pour this back in the bottle. So there again, that's why I like to do all of this. Okay. Have your glitter ready. And if opening the jar means it's ready, then that's ready. That's all you need to do. My point is, don't paint the glue on and then decide I need to go find my glitter, because that's something that I've done in the past where I'm like, oh, let me go find this. Okay. How I like to work is I just kind of work in sections. I didn't really glue anything to the bottom of this. I suppose you could if you needed to, but I just worked in sections and it was fine for me. Okay. Just using any brush. We're going to take this and we're going to paint it on. The reason I'm demoing this is because I want you to see the difference in the viscosity of both adhesives that I just talked about. So you can see right away how that pools in there. See what I mean? Because it's so liquid that even if you brush it out, it still pools up in between the branches. I actually thought it was just going to be fine, but it actually did a cool effect. And again, you could do this on different things. I'm just doing clear acrylic because I want the light to shine through. Now, this spray, as long as you can see that it's kind of milky, it's going to be wet enough to glitter. So it's completely up to you how you want to handle this. You know, you might want to do the top half and then come back and do the bottom half because you don't have fingerprints. I don't care. I'm just going to go around my fingers. It's just glitter. So, but I'm being pretty generous with the brush. You can see that I'm just kind of working it all around. So you get that pooling now that I want from the resist spray. And it's already starting to get tacky. So that means I'm going to hold it over the jar and I'm just going to start just dumping the glitter. So this glitter, as I mentioned, doesn't go airborne. So you can just pour it out like this. I suppose you could put it in and try to shake it up, but I really like to get as much of it on there and have as much of it build up at first, and then after it dries, shake off the excess. All right. There we have it. So all that glitter. So you're going to let this dry. Drying time on this, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes. I mean, we live in Arizona. It dries pretty darn quick, but I would say give it at least a half an hour. If you can do overnight. So anyway, when I'm done, and I'm going to just do this while the glue's dry. I put it down because that's where my fingers were, and I just pour the glitter over it so it kind of catches the excess. Everything can go back in the jar. I'm going to clean this while it's wet. Do you mind grabbing me a baby wipe, please? Thanks. I have a paper towel, but I'm like, I should use a baby wipe. The whole thing to note when it comes to drying time of anything, we'll talk about that as we get into other ideas. Thanks, Mario.
You're welcome.
Is I'm just going to take this off with a baby wipe. If you clean glue off while it's wet, it's so much easier to clean off than when it dries on your fingers. So have a baby wipe or a cloth. It's just much easier than picking it all up. But yeah, overnight's just easier because everything really has a chance to set up, but realistically, drying time of that, it does not take long. All right. So far, so good. So let me find a little space for this to go. I'm going to move this, put this back. No, I'm good. Thank you. All right. I'm just going to put this back in the bottle because I don't want to waste it. Just that little bit. You just pour it in. Okay. And this again could rinse out. That can get cleaned. So that is resist spray. If you haven't used resist spray really as a glue for glitter, and I mean, we've used it on a lot of things, Santa mugs in particular. It's very cool. All right, so drying, I'm just gonna get a little piece of deli paper. Deli paper, this is something that Paula told me about years ago. And I think I've actually used this box for years. I don't even know. You can pick it up. It's just like dry wax paper, you know, like little, it's the handiest little stuff. See, there you go. Handy wax, there you go.
That box forever.
It works because I'm like, where do you put stuff to dry? I said, I put stuff to dry everywhere. She goes, I got these and I use them for paint and I use it for a palette. And I go, oh, that's really clever. And I've used them ever since. One of those things, you know, you don't think you need, but it's so nice. All right, put the glitter back because we're going to do a glossy accent version. So I don't need to clean my brush because it's just glue. Glue is glue. I'll clean it when I'm done gluing. Glossy accents, I just put some onto that paper. I don't put it in the cup just because I feel like I'm wasting more of that sticking in the cup than anything else, okay? So for this one, you're gonna see, just gonna load up the brush and I'm gonna start painting it. You can see on this one, see how we don't get any buildup in between the branches? Different viscosity. So that's why this one just goes on a bit more, all I can say is icier. That's the only difference. One I would say is snowier and one is icier. So I like that there's different ways depending on the glue. And if you only have one of them, well, there you go. Your choice is already made for you. You just use what you have. Again, just putting this on. Wow, I see a lot of sales popping up today. Simon says, bringing it. I like that. You're bringing it. Okay, so glossy accents, you do not have the luxury of time you did on resist spray because like I said, this is much thicker. So you'll, as soon as like my fingers get tacky, I know that that's the time. So we're just gonna do the same thing. Hopefully I'm in frame. There you go. Just start pouring it on. Pouring it around. And if you miss a spot, let's say you just did this and you come back to it in an hour or whatever and you're like, oh my gosh, I missed so much of it. Just go back and add adhesive and add more glitter. It's no problem. You can actually put as many layers of this on as you want. There you go. Same thing. Just clean that off. It's that easy. That's it. That's the whole gist of glittering acrylic things. I'm going to take this, shake that off, set it on that piece of paper for it to dry, and put this back. So I just wanted you to kind of think about that when you're out and about. Maybe it doesn't have to be clear, but the glitter is clear. So obviously I like the idea of acrylic because, well, you know, I like things that light up. And I just thought, how great would these be? I mean, these were super inexpensive, but how great would these be, again, on a table, on a nightstand, even holiday decor. If you're having guests over, they can take it home because they're really inexpensive. And I just like the idea that they look beautiful lit up because you still get that twinkly sparkle of rock candy, but then they also are just beautiful when the light's off. So there you go.
That totally changed them just from basic to like, wow.
Absolutely.
Really did.
the ordinary into the extraordinary.
Listen to that.
That's dramatic.
Damn.
That's dramatic, isn't it? All right, give you that. There you go, Bam. Can you clean that up for me,
Sure
please?
can.
Thanks. All right. Okay, that was easy. See, we're just going to start off with the really, really easy ones and then kind of go from there. I'm going to have my glitter tray off to the side. All right. Mari, would you mind grabbing me a couple more baby wipes, please, when you're in there? Thank you so much. Okay. Easy, easy. It's going to get better and it's going to get more colorful. That to me is what I love, because there are things like this where maybe you have the idea of glitter, but you also love color. Okay, I'm going to move these little trees off to the side. I got my little drying station going over here. Now, this was something that typically, I mean, in the store, this was one, when I picked it up, Mario's like, are you really buying that? Or are you joking? Because I go, look at these. And he goes, yeah, look at those. And I said, no, they're really cool. So these, you could find these dollar store. There's like 24 in a box of these. These are plastic, but they're glittered. And they have this iridescent-y glitter on there. And there were so many different things made out of this at the craft store. There were snowflakes, and there were toy soldiers, and there were ornaments, and there were all sorts of things. And then I saw pine cones. Now, if you're a vintage lover, you know that vintage pine cone ornaments for trees, especially glass ones, are like, besides that they're incredibly hard to find, they're very, very expensive. So I wanted to just show a way that we can take ordinary plastic glittered things and turn them into extraordinary things. So these, look at these little blended ombre snowflakes. And you don't have to do the ombre color if you wanted it just to be a solid color. I'm going to show you how to do both. But I love that, let's say your Christmas was very themed, where you had a specific palette in mind. I love that. I mean, very wicked right here. Am I right? Yeah. But I love that you could create a palette that is customizable for you. And we're just using alcohol ink. Same thing on these. Like, are these just glorious? Because again, I wanted that gradation of color going from dark to light, because I just think that would be beautiful on the tree. And I just did, like a dark brown, medium brown, and silver. And we'll get into, I'm going to show how to do both. We'll start with the snowflakes and kind of go from there. Okay, there we go. I'm going to set this aside. So what we're using, which is really simple, are alcohol inks. Now, the color of alcohol inks is really up to you. And we talked about alcohol inks a little bit when we did baubles. Alcohol ink is just, it's one of the magic elixirs when it comes to the holiday season, because you can transform anything with color, because alcohol ink works on non-porous things. That's metal and plastic and glass. All of those elements are really easy to be doing with alcohol ink. Now, I wanted these to be vivid because I wanted to create that transition of color. That's what I'm going to demo. So all of the colors that I put in my tin to work with are brighter colors. But if you wanted just to mute the color, I'll talk about that at the end, okay? So leave those over here. Let's just take some of these really gorgeous snowflakes. They're not.
When you first picked those up, I thought, are those coasters? And what are you going to do with them?
Yeah, because they're a little janky. But here's another thing. These would go great on a card. Not kidding. They're thin enough. I mean, they're just plastic. They're flexible enough. But you could use these on cards if you wanted to. I'm sure you could even cut them with your scissors. So let's just pick some colors. And the only color I didn't do is yellow, and that's just obvious. I just thought even doing yellow snow for me would just be a little, I'm not going to do it. So I'll do a pink. I wanted to do a red. So let's do a red. I think I'll probably do crimson, because that's going to be really dark. So keep in mind that the label you choose, that color, that's going to kind of be the darkest part, okay? So we'll take that, and I wanted to do a dark green. So I'm going to do some colors that I didn't do, but of course, if there's a certain color that you wanted to see demoed them, I'm not going to do a bazillion of them, but I will do quite a few. Let's do turquoise. I do like turquoise again. Oh, but I really wanted to do mermaid. Okay, I just chose a couple. Who knows if we're going to get to those? Just took some alcohol. Now, what we're going to need is some containers. Now, you can use portion cups. You can use whatever it is that you want to use. I'm going to use portion cups because I'm going to be painting with the alcohol ink. The biggest thing that you're going to need is going to be some isopropyl. Now, I like 91%. If it's a little lower number, no problem. Go ahead, you can do a lower number, but 91 is just going to dry quicker. So that's really why I'm choosing that. This is going to be like your water for watercolor. Think about that, because that's what we're doing. We're kind of watercoloring, but these are solvent based. So you can't dilute these in water. The inks will not react properly. So you need to dilute it in alcohol. That's also what's going to allow us to kind of lighten our color as we go, okay? And we'll work one color at a time. We'll start with pink and then we'll go into the other colors. And we'll do this. So what I do is I'll just take some iso and I'm just gonna put a little bit in there. You can see like it barely covers the bottom of a portion cup, okay? Then I'm just gonna take some iso and just put a little bit more in there. I want a little bit more because I'm gonna wash the brush. And then I just have a jar that I'm going to clean my brush, and that I'm going to use iso just to clean the brush. So it's all isopropyl, all the same 91%. Okay, so just everything that we have is going to be alcohol at this point. I'm going to take one of these deli wraps. That's going to be important for this technique, you're going to see. And if you want to wear gloves for this, go ahead. Be sure you're working in a well-ventilated area, all of the safety things that you would do with alcohol inks, but it's just going to be fine. Alcohol cleans up really well with hand sanitizer, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my color, and in that cup that I put just a little bit of iso in there, I'm going to squeeze some alcohol. How much? I don't know. If you use a lot, like, because you can put a lot in if you're going to do them all the same color. You don't have to make the small batch. I'm only making a small batch because I'm going to demo it on one. But if you were doing more, well, then you can make as much of this solution as you want. I place the snowflake down and then just kind of figure out the intensity. So I'll just start with a brush and I'm just going to paint it on. Now, if I like the color, great. If I don't like the color, I can change it. So this is flamingo, but let's say you're like, oh, I really don't like flamingo. I really wanted it to be a different pink. You can go back and alter that color, meaning you can also mix colors. So if you didn't have the perfect color, like to me, that's a little warm. I mean, it's actually this one, which I already know is going to be beautiful, but you can mix. You can say, oh, you know what? I don't have a lot of alcohol ink. Can I create my own colors? Absolutely. Throw whatever combination of color you want in there, but you'll see that you're really going to want to kind of load up on a palette. Ooh, look at that. That's a nice bright color. So I start by just painting this on and I'm flooding this with alcohol. So I'm being really generous, dipping my brush, and I'm going to go about halfway with this intense color. You see that? So far, so good. And I'm literally like pouncing it in because I want to flood that with color. Then I'm going to start dipping my brush into just that iso, and that's what's going to clean the brush, but I'm actually cleaning the brush off on the rest of the snowflake. Do you see that? And that's just what's creating that wash of color. Now, alcohol inks are solvent reactive. So once you finish, if you're like, oh, I want it to be a little bit lighter when I go up, start moving the other way. So see how if I start moving into that color, I can actually lighten it. And that's how you create the blend. And my favorite part by working on deli paper is the back is already done. What?
That's pretty slick.
Pretty wild, right? So the deli paper you see absorbed my color, but not like a paper towel would. And now both sides are done at the same time. And I set it aside to dry. Just set it on the glass. Now, if you're going to do another one, you just go right into the same mix and go for it. Like I said, you would be doing this in batches, okay? But I'm not going to. I'm done. So I'm going to clean my brush in that jar. Just clean off the color. So I'm ready for the next one. This, because I'm not going to use it, I'm just going to peel this off, throw it away. Use a paper towel because this alcohol is wet. It's just going to come right off with the dry paper towel. And then I'll also take that paper towel and remove the colors from the cup. Like I said, this is something that if you were doing many, you wouldn't be, essentially wasting the ink or the iso. But hey, for the sake of the demo, you get it. Because if you're making multiple colors, I don't want you to think like, oh, I'm going to need, 30 bazillion cups. Just use the paper towel to absorb and clean the cups. So we're ready to go again. Boom.
That really was.
Okay.
That's trickery.
That's trickery. You know it. Okay. Next one. Let's do this like tealish color. I really want to do dark green. I can't wait to do them all. I'm just going to keep going because, well, it's fun to do. So we're going to start again, little review, little ISO, and a little bit more ISO. And I'm sure there's other ways you can do it. You might be like, well, can I just drip it directly on and then just go with ISO? Absolutely. You do whatever's going to work for you. This is just what I found works best for me, is starting with a wash of color was the easiest for me, because when I applied this directly from the bottle, which I did try at first, the color was so dark that I had to add so much solvent, and I kept having to like pounce my brush on this to try to dissolve the solvent more. And I found that the more I did that, I actually started to eat away at this pre-glittered thing. Okay, so there you have it. So let's take our kind of teal wash. Let's do it again. So we're going to start with, that's a nice dark color at the top. And again, you're just going to paint it on, keep going back in, get all the area that you want, and pounce it in, because you know that snowflake is dimensional. Plus now you know why we're also doing this, because we want that ink. The ink's actually absorbing underneath at the same time. Then I'm just going to dip the brush and just start painting. And when I say dip, I'm not cleaning my brush in here. I'm just dipping it into the clean ISO to fade out the color. Because if you clean your brush and you just brush on regular ISO, you're not going to get any color whatsoever. So that's why we do that. And I'm just going to bring it back. And I always like to kind of bring in the fade. And let's say you wanted a little bit more color. Could you dip in color and dip in ISO at this point? Sure. If you wanted a different blend, you could. But, you know, my advice is just don't get so caught up in your head. The blend will be beautiful. Front and back. Done. Pretty, huh? Okay. There's another one.
Those are cool.
So easy. All right. Clean my brush. And we know to clean these. So I did read comments. People, you know, you might save it. You might do that. You do you. A lot of scraps. Okay. Let's do another color. So now when you're looking at like plasticky things, okay, that's good. I see the question, I wonder if mixatives would work. I'll let you answer that question. Would it work in the sense of would it stick to it? Yes, but mixatives are not translucent, so you wouldn't get an ombre. You would cover the glitter and there would be no sparkle. So it's essentially would be metallic snowflakes. But could you do it? Yes, you could. It just wouldn't blend or flow the way this does, but absolutely. What color was that teal? That was mermaid. That was mermaid. This darker one that's a little greener, this was, I'll just show you. This is Laguna. This is really cool. See, it's kind of greenish. And then that one I think is turquoise. This one, this is Bayou. Oh my gosh, I love this color. There's so many fun colors. So anyway, I set it on the glass just so it has a chance to dry, but I'm gonna, you know, I'll talk a little bit later about some drying tricks. I don't want to show all my tricks at once, but we'll get there too. So fun, easy, easy. Is it deli paper, wax paper? Yes, it is. It is wax paper. This happens to be dry waxed paper, but wax paper would work just the same. Dry wax meaning it's not slickery. All right.
Slickery.
Right.
Clickery.
That's what it says. Dry wax paper. 500 sheets. Well, that's why. Then I use a lot. Okay. I'm down to do a green one. So we'll do one more. I'll probably do a red one later. Okay. Here we go. Yeah, I agree. There's been so many times that I'll see plastic stuff and I'm like, eek. Yeah, because think about this. You want vintage? I'm just showing colors. Could this be like a vintage brown or a vintage gray? Absolutely, you could. You could do any color. We might. But we're going to get to the brown colors on the pine cones. But just know that those colors could obviously be applied to anything. The shape is pretty insignificant. All right, so this one, this is a deep one. This is Everglades. This is dark, dark, dark. Okay. It's going to be beautiful. Okay, let's start. Whoa. See, that's so, like, to me, that's just such a great Christmas green. Isn't it cool? So yeah, now I think about those things that I left at the craft store, the nutcracker and all that. I'm like, ooh, maybe a little bit more shopping. All right, so I've gone halfway. Now I go back into the ISO and you just start fading that all the way out. Once you get in your groove, I'm telling you, you just become like this alcohol ink Picasso. You just go for it. And I love just kind of going back up a little bit, just so I don't have, you know, just a perfect break. And then if I'm like, oh, I just need to add a little bit, you know, a little bit more color, go for it. Because different colors are going to work differently. But yeah, wild, huh? Front and back. It's just crazy. Okay. Clean the brush. So you get the idea on that. So far, so good. You loving it? All right. How did the pearl look? So I didn't use mixatives and pearls because I don't think mixatives or pearls will work. Again, pearl is opaque. So just like a mixative or even a neon, if you use an opaque alcohol ink, the opacity is going to cover that sparkle. So will it adhere? Absolutely. But will it dry to this same sparkly? Absolutely not. Those types of inks, anything that is pigment will cover it. So if you use neons or pearls, cover it. And if you use those, you have to use blending solution because those have pigments and they require blending solution to adhere. And blending solution will erode the glue and the glitter of these much faster. So yeah, because trust me, I mean, if all those other things worked, you know, I would have them out with my bag of tricks going, you can use this, you can use this, you can use this. I just like to show you what I find is going to work the best and most consistent, I think. But if that's what you have and you want to try it and you're like, hey, you know what, I'm going to be good with that, then go for it. Because neon snowflakes would look great. Just know that, you know, if you're like, why aren't they sparkling? That would be why. All right, cool. Yep, you could re-glitter them. Knock yourself out. Okay. So there we have it. Snowflake, should we do one more? I really want to, I'm just going to look in here because I think I put in a color last night. I did. I'm going to just try this. I'm going to try a purple one. I know I said red, but I'll do red later. I really want to try, because I did some really great purples. I did like Purple Twilight. I did like a boysenberry as well. But this one is really, really dark. And I like how these dark ones have just been like cool, intense. So let's just do it. Then we'll go to the Pinecones. Okay. There you have it. There we go. I already know this one's going to be, this is going to be something. All right. Whew. And you just have to add whatever amount of alcohol ink you want to add. That's all I can say on that. Okay, here we go. Ooh, yeah, that is intense. Wow. But it's going to be beautiful. I'm going to tell you already. Because this particular snowflake has like iridescent glitter, so I can already see like the blue and turquoise of that glitter coming through. Can you see that? Yeah. So see, like the darker the color, it's pretty cool. All right. Got that color in there. Woo-wee. Yeah, so this is where, you know, you'll try to find a cleaner spot to get more of that fade. Yeah, couldn't be easier. But I definitely want to, you know, see how you can thin that. I just love how you can manipulate alcohol ink. It's so, so forgiving to work on that stuff. So I got a little bit, probably from picking it up on the back. There we go. Yeah, easy touch up. Wow. All right. Boom, we're going to let those dry. Clean the brush.
People do love purple.
Yeah.
Purple's a winner.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all the colors are really great. And that's the fun part of this, is creating a color that you probably wouldn't typically find, you know? That's the magic of alcohol ink. So that's what I was saying. You have these things, okay? You have these things where you look and you're like, when would I use alcohol ink? I don't do backgrounds. Maybe you do. So there you go. Okay. So next we're going to get into the Pinecones. And I'll share with you what I learned the very first time I did it. So the Pinecones, bring these in. They're just beautiful. Okay. These are great. And I was like, you know what? I think I could, oh my gosh. Like, I think I can do this. And could you do these in colors? Absolutely. But I'm not. I'm sticking to these because these will end up going in the house. So But could you make purple pine cones and green? Could you make rainbow? Absolutely. Do whatever colors. But I'm going to stick to grunge because I'm going to keep these because I was impressed. But the first time I'm like, oh, I'll be really careful like I was with the snowflake and just try to use the alcohol ink. No way. This one requires a glove because these little spots of ink, it's going to come off with hand sanitizer after the demo, no problem. The amount of ink that's going to be on my hands from these, it's going to require gloves. So that's what I'm going to do. All right, let me just move these really quick. I'm going to take these out of the way. So once these had a chance to sit on the glass, I am going to move them to a paper towel. The reason is the paper towel will actually pull out any of that excess ink moisture. So you can let them dry on a paper towel. I just don't immediately put it on a paper towel because see some of the ink that's sitting there? You want the ink, see like this is dry, that's still wet. If it's too wet, it could wicks a little bit more color out of the snowflake than you would want. All right, can I hand you those? Could you,
Sure.
Would you mind laying those over on the table?
Yeah,
Thank you.
got it.
Thanks. All right. Now let me just clean this up. What am I going to do? There it is. Just gonna use some hand sanitizer.
Want the tray back?
Place that down. Please. Thanks. Thanks. Just going to, so hand sanitizer, I mean, you could use regular alcohol to clean as well, but hand sanitizer, because it's a little gel, it's so much easier to clean with because it stays wet longer. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So, your other snowflakes, get these out of the run. And let's talk about pine cones. Because pine cones, let's see what I get. Like, you can get, I think it was a box of 8. Yeah. And I'm sorry, but that just doesn't look great to me. But it might to somebody. So, no judgment. All right. I just love them. And I will be going back for more. No doubt about that. No doubt about that. Okay. Glove. It's just, it's a lot. That's all I can say. Okay. So colors I used, just to give you a quick little reference of colors. For this beautiful brown, I used teak wood. Not pretty. It's so good. That's what I did. And maybe I think I'll do that one again. For the silver, that just looks like, it's so good. It's like this dingy little platinum. I used slate a little bit, but then I also went back with some gravel. So this is one that I actually used a couple of colors because as you can see, slate was really dark. Even if I thinned it out, it didn't thin to like that silvery color. So the bottom area is more gravel, but I'm sure you could get away with one or the other, but you could even tell from the labels, like this is more of a, you know, that dark, beautiful color. So if you wanted that to fade, you could fade either one, but I was just going for something a little bit more vintage. So I did use 2 colors on that one. This one shouldn't surprise anyone. This is the ever popular mushroom. And so mushroom is just that color. It doesn't know what it wants to be. Sometimes it has little hints of brown and sometimes it looks more gray and mucky, but that was a great color. And I did kind of see that more of like a dark brown compared to a silver. And again, could you mix? Could you add teak wood with mushroom? Sure. Could you add color on top of color? Of course. You could do all of those, right? So here's what we're going to do. We're just going to do one pine cone. I'm going to use teak wood. Let me put all my colors back in a little storage tin so I have it. And it's pretty much same rules apply, but it does get a little messier. We can't, I'm going to use the deli paper, but it's not going to do the trick that we're doing, you know, where it comes to working when you're using this. It's not like it's going to absorb the color like the snowflake did. And I only need a glove on one hand because this is the one that's holding the pine cone. Okay. So we're going to do a similar thing as far as a cup of color. We're also going to do a little bit of a wash, but then we're going to also reapply. So let's just get things going. You'll need way more than what you did for snowflake, but we can always make more, but just keep that in mind. It's bigger, it's more dimensional, it's going to use more ink. And alcohol inks actually come in bigger bottles. Some colors, not a lot. Teak wood does not, but there are certain colors, like I know mushroom comes in bigger bottles. They're 2-ounce bottles. So really, if you were planning on doing this, and we're going to get into more alcohol ink things, that you could actually say, hey, I want to buy, you know, I want to do a whole thing, there's just certain colors that you can get in 2 ounce. So this particular stuff that I found at Hobby Lobby, but again, craft store, dollar store, look online. I saw even Simon Says has some stuff, which that's what they do. I like that. They're like, we're going to find it, we're going to get it. So just look around for stuff. It is honestly my favorite thing to do. And stores like TJ Maxx and Home Goods, they have really cool shaped stuff, but often some of the finishes are a little meh. Yeah. So, okay, we're just going to start painting this. So same thing, I'm going to kind of work from the top and work my way down. Ultimately, I want to have from dark to light, but we're going to go back and add some color as well. Okay. So here we go. There we go. That's a little darker. That's perfect. So you just start slopping this in there. And I would suggest staying, you know, a little bit away from you, not painting it, because if you paint it like back and forth, your brush will act like a splatter brush and you'll probably wear more color than not. So I'm just pouncing it in with the brush. I like this brush because it absorbs a lot of ink. So it holds a lot of ink. And you need a brush because it needs to get into all these areas. The pine cone, I go a little bit more than half before I start trying to thin out the color. And it's dimensional. So, you know, hold it and you can, but the ink also travels. So you see how it's very easy. It fills in really quick. So it's not like paint. As soon as the brush hits it, that ink is kind of traveling all the way around everything. It's just soaking around. So now it's time to fade out the color. So now I just flip it around and I paint from this way. So again, it's kind of cleaning my brush, but it's giving me a little bit of that color. And this is where you start working back into it. Maybe you want a little bit of color, you know, a little bit darker down there. You have so much. I just love the fact that you have a little bit more control. And even if I go back in the color, after I hit the ISO, like look, straight color, you see how it's not as dark as this? It can't be because my brush is loaded with ISO. So once you're happy with kind of this blend, I go back to the top. And this is just personal preference. This is where I just take the bottle and I'll just do like a little ring of that color. See how intense that is? And then I'm just going to kind of feather that out, just so the top that you're seeing is really, really dark. See, I just think that made a big difference. And you let it dry. That's it. Simple, simple. And I love how sparkly these are. They look so vintage to me, especially when you grunge them up. And yeah, could you go back and add all sorts of things? Yeah, go ahead. You know, you can add other glitter. You could add glossy accents and rock candy so they're snow capped. I mean, you can do so many other things, but it's just that easy. You don't have to overcomplicate the process. All right.
Really, those are beautiful.
I love them.
Such a big difference.
Yeah, it changes something into like, I could see people making those and selling them, really. Like, because people would see that at a vintage store.
They really just look junky. Like,
they're just white plastic. But I mean, you know, if you're going for a snowy theme or putting it outside, I mean, I get it, but I still don't get it. Like even this, if I wanted it, I'd do a little wash maybe on the inside of like a light blue or something really just pretty and subtle. Okay. So there you go. So again, you're just going to let it dry, just air dry and off you go. But now as you're going around, because this is the time, you know, you go out to there's so many stores. Gosh, we have a store called At Home here, and my word, it is just like this warehouse of Christmas this time of year. And they have just stuff in like big boxes, you know, where you're getting 30 of something. Like, why would you need that? But when you're creating this, again, this could be a table centerpiece. Imagine stacking some of these up where they're already glittered, pretty pine cones. Or you have a friend that has a specific palette where they love, well, Mario mentioned purple, right? Maybe you love purple and you're going to do this wash of purple on there. There's some really pretty colors that are already washes of colors in the alcohol ink line. Of course, you can thin a dark color, so you already know that. But if you're going for something really, really faint, you can also just start with any of your lighter colors if you have any of them. You know, like this is a beautiful color. Juniper, great color. It's like a bluish green. You know what? Let's do one. Let's, because it's pretty. I don't think I have another glove. Would you mind grabbing me another glove? Thanks, Mario. He's like, yeah, sure. They're in the kitchen drawer.
Oh, those?
Thanks. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
all right, cool. Thanks. All right, I'm just going to clean this off because I really want to make sure I get all the brown off. You guys don't mind if I do one more, do you? Just want to see it. Because it's one of those, juniper is like, it is the rock star color. It's so good. It's such a pretty color. It's one of those colors that came back. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. Bringing it on. We're going to do some cool stuff. We're just warming up. I think that's but this is why I have so much fun doing this kind of demo, because I do feel that there's so many times as makers that you completely forget your superpower, that you have all of this stuff in your space, but we're used to using it for our more of our papercraft products. And it's like, okay, what about just using it and altering stuff? And you impress family and friends when you do this. When you're out with them, you're like, oh, I'm going to get these. They're like, really? You're like, yeah. And then you bring them out and you're like, look what I did. Then they just think you're you're a wizard. All right. So same thing. You're going to do a little ISO there, a little ISO there. These are kind of stained. It's okay. But this one, we'll go for more of a washed version, okay? So it won't be as intense, but that's okay. We don't necessarily need it to be. Perfect. Okay. So again, juniper. See, all right, it's just such a pretty, pretty color, isn't it? Man. And we just see like how much we want to fade this color out. Because once you deal with a light color, it's just so much easier to just add a little bit of that. Because like I said, once you dip your brush in ISO, it's kind of flooded and you can go back into that same saturated color and you don't have to worry about it becoming as intense, if that makes sense. I'll flip it around. Perfect. But yeah, these do make a great seasonal gift. I saw people saying that. I just wanted to share this early enough in the season where you go out into those stores with fresh eyes, because if you're like me, you pretty much walk past it. Well, I can't say you're like me because I'm not like that. I do see things that I probably shouldn't. I'll just say like most people. I don't want to even say like Mario. If you're like most people, you do walk by this stuff because, when you get it, it's questionable. You're like, well, that is nothing like you. But when you see the potential in, I'll just say the unfinished, that's the magic. So look at that one. Isn't that beautiful? Minty. And it will dry a little bit lighter because obviously the inks are still saturated. But I just think that it's so, see when you put it in there, it's so minty. Isn't that pretty? It's glorious. Absolutely glorious to see what you can do with a bottle of ink that you probably have in your stash. Okay. There we go. So that was alcohol inks on white glittered things or plastic things. Of course, the inks could be on other things, but this was specifically those white things because I do see them every year. And for years I have walked by them. I've never seen pine cones. This was the first time. I've seen those snowflakes. I mean, I haven't saw people like for years. Typically these are at the dollar store too. I've seen them. I didn't see them this year though, but like I've just seen stuff and I'm like, oh, not for me. But I don't know what struck me this year where I'm like, hey, I wonder if, yeah, maybe that's the case. Okay, so same rules apply. I'm just gonna put these on a paper towel just to, any of that excess ink that's probably still dripping out, it's gonna be good. I'm gonna take that. Okay. And I'm gonna just pick this one up. Can I hand you those, Mario?
Sure.
You could take the tray. No,
Okay.
Thanks. Making me some room. Okay. The other nice thing really about working with isopropyl is it's like in self-cleaning mode. Even when I like whatever was in my brush, if I just need it to clean my glass mat, it's just nice. So squeaky clean. Clean as you go. Clean as you go. And then just use the excess just to mop up whatever's in the cup so you can reuse your cups. Okay, perfect. So next I'm going to show you something that you've probably seen in any craft store you've possibly gone to, and that would be ornaments. Now, I've done ornaments, usually glass ornaments for years. Gosh, I don't even know, 10, 15 years ago, I started doing these. But recently on Instagram, I follow Lori, it's Kalo Chick, Kailochic, I think. And she has a beautiful acrylic business, very colorful. And this year, and she loves using alcohol ink, so shout out to her. But this year she did this on iridescent plastic. And I'm like, huh? I've seen them. I've just, again, walked by them because iridescent plastic just didn't really jive with me. But when I saw the results, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to do this. So shout out to her for the inspiration because I've only stuck to glass or clear plastic. So these are iridescent and this would work on glass or plastic. I love that they're different sizes, but it's interesting because it does look like bubbles. I mean, I have used these to actually make bubbles. I have a wash tub out in the dining room where I've hot glued these coming out of it where it looks like a bubble bath. That is true, but I've never inked them, okay? Until now, because I think the results are phenomenal because it takes this iridescent, beautiful look and it makes it even more colorful, bubbly, beautiful with ease. Now,
That is so beautiful.
it's so good. Now, when you're doing this, I don't know, I've only been using glass, but it's like, I've used plastic, but I've never used iridescent, and it just does something with the color, doesn't it? It still gives it that iridescent finish. It couldn't be easier. And I like the idea of just doing, if you're gonna make them for your tree, well, heck yeah, you can totally do this on regulation size ornaments, right? And they're plastic, but like, look at the iridescent beauty of it. So you can do these on big ones, but I love the idea of even the mini ones and just doing it as a tablescape, right? Just having these scattered around your table because, well, they're plastic. So it doesn't really matter what people do with them. You know, there again, you can make a set for friends, you can do whatever, but I love that factor. Yeah, plastic. Okay, let's get to it. Here's how we're gonna create with these. All right. So I kind of have my own little tricks that I've done, but you do what's going to work for you. Okay. I'll take a few of these. Take some of that size. I'll do a big one too, just to show, because it really doesn't take long to create this. I'm going to set these just in the corner because they're pretty. All right. So first thing you want to do is take out the ornament top. Now these particular ones, I don't know, this is like made out of chewing gum foil. It is the thinnest metal ever. It's like you can blow on it and the metal will just bend. So when you're taking, if you have thin metal ones, just pull the wire, right? Don't actually grip the side of this because you'll just crush it. That's what I learned. So just pull the wire. Same here.
Yeah, they sure don't make those like they used to.
I mean, really, it was like,
They're
I
really like
took out the
foil.
first one. I was like, this is like made out of a gum wrapper. Okay. Inks of choice. Now, as you can see here, sky's the limit. You can do bright colors, light colors, dark colors, but I will tell you that every color you choose will be much lighter and more translucent than it starts out. Even when you see it demoed, you'll be like, wow, that's such a cool dark color. It's just going to dry because all of the ink just kind of goes to the inside of this ornament. And that's the other beauty. You don't have to seal them. You don't do anything because our color is on the inside because we want to keep this iridescent finish on the outside. So you just kind of play around. It is not like, I liked it. And there were a couple that after they dried, even though they were different ink colors, I'm like, well, they look really similar because the colors were so pale. So I would say that it's go with a little darker at first than you think. See what you like because you can always add a darker color and you could always clean these out. If I didn't like any of these, I could remove this. I could take some of this 91% ISO, drip it in there, shake it around, dump it out and start over. So you can do over. I mean, the same way alcohol cleans off of this glass mat, it would clean off the inside of an ornament. But just don't get that much in your head where you're trying to be all matchy-matchy. Get yourself some extras so you can play. All right. So some options before we start. When we add the ink, we need different ways of drying them. So the first way I came up with was this, and that was taking a portion cup, so you can see like the ink that drips in there. Taking some portion cups, and I wanted to, because you need airflow to get in there to help dry the ink. So I just stuck a toothpick, like poked a couple holes. This way I can just set it down so it can drip in there, but also dry. Okay, that was that was an option. And I did many of these. And then Mario's like, how many are you making? And I'm like, well, I'm making 24. And obviously I was, you know, moving cups and it was like some sort of magic trick. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he comes in with this. And I'm like, what is this? He's like, oh, it's like a basket at the bottom of an air fryer or something. But it was a perfect drying rack because it sits there and it's off the table. So look, if I put it down. So now when I set these here, they can drip, but also air can get through. So obviously this became like my tool of choice. Not only for that, but the snowflakes, the pine cones, everything I did, I ended up going back on this because it just dried so much faster. I was like, this is really cool. Because at first I was like, do you have like a baking rack or something? But the baking rack, it has squares and these would rolling around, or the troughs. So fine, maybe you find this at the dollar store, who knows? Okay, but that could be a drying rack. So any drying rack that you have, make sure you put something underneath it because obviously the ink is going to drip through this. So don't just put it on your dining room table. Have some paper or plastic under there to catch the ink drips. Okay.
You did a lot of MacGyver on those little cups.
Well, you know, you do what you do. Well, they're going to work. I'm going to use them again because they work. Okay. So when you're making these, there's a lot of ways that you can approach this. If you're going to make a whole color series, when I'm done swishing the ink, you could pour the ink into another ornament if you were doing the same colors. Okay. I just want to explain that because I'm not doing that. I'm just going to the next color. So that's why I don't care how much ink is in there. And that's why I have ink in the bottom of my cups. But I know some people are like, you know what? I'm going to make a whole batch of them. Do I have to dump out my ink? No, you can start it in the next one. This also is color only. We are not thinning it with this like we did. If you thin it, it won't actually grab the inside of the plastic ornament, which leads me to the next thing. Not all plastic ornaments are created equal. These handle the ink different than these little ones. It's perfect, but it still has like a little bit of separation in there, maybe because it's just a bigger surface than these do. So that's the other thing is like before you go buy 200 of an ornament, buy a box of them, try it out and make sure the ink works inside the plastic because who knows if they put like a release in there, like everything's different. So I just don't want to preface this with like, but you said it was going to work. It worked on these that I bought and it worked on both different ones. I've worked on glass, but that's just kind of my advice to try it out first. Okay, let's get going with a color. I'll do this one first. We're going to do Fiesta. Beautiful hot pink. We'll do all sorts of things. Yes, I mentioned that. You can definitely do this with glass as well. You can color the inside or the outside with alcohol ink. I prefer the inside because it's sealed that way. And you can go on YouTube and see a lot of videos. There's probably one on Ranger's channel from like 15 years ago when I did one. I think I was even using alcohol ink and like shooting inside with a can of air and the color was like moving on the inside and creating beautiful patterns. My gosh, there's so much content out there, but absolutely anything non-porous. Okay, so I'm just going to go in, squeeze some ink. You see that? And immediately start turning it with the hole facing up and then slowly tip this on its side and you see it coating immediately and then just keep turning your angle. You don't need a lot of ink, but if you're kind of getting used to it, you may want to hold it over a cup in case you're a little too generous the first time and ink starts pouring out. But you just take your time on this, slowly going from this way till it's completely upside down. And I'm making sure that the color got to the neck. See how it got to the neck? Once it gets to the neck, flip it upside down. So we want the hole to be straight up and down. The reason is because this ink is going to gather as it dries, right? So alcohol ink continues to move until it's dry. So this ink is like going this way. If the ornament is, say, sideways, I'll just say maybe it's like this. See that pool of ink already? You can just see like a little bit right there. It will dry with a dark spot on your ornament. Not the end of the world, but that's why you want to keep them up and down. That's also why this little portion cup thing was not ideal, because if it didn't stay completely upright, it would turn. Hence the drying rack. Totally flat, so perfect. So yeah, then I just took these and just set it on the drying rack like that, because now I know it's completely straight up and down. I have a paper towel underneath. In fact, I'll put some paper towel off camera so I can just move those over there. But just so you know, that's your options. There's my drip already. Saved the paper towel. Okay. So that's my tip. We're going to keep doing a few more. Beautiful, isn't it? Easy, easy. All right, a little sanitizer. Let's keep doing it. So glass or plastic, but iridescent plastic, that's where it's at. It's cool because I like the idea of just like throwing these out, you know, on a table and you don't have to worry about any of that. So I agree. Who knew plastic could look so pretty? So now that we understand the drying rack, I don't even need to mess with these. Could I give you those, please?
Sure,
Thanks, Mario.
yeah.
I'll probably just chuck them. Okay. Because now I can just move this. I want to try to keep it in frame so you guys can see the process. It's a little challenging. There we go. Okay, I can work like this. There we go. So see, like that, whatever that little diamond is, it was really nice that the ornament got to stay in there. Okay. All right. Any colors you want? Great. Paula is incredibly addictive because they're so pretty, and especially when you just find colors that you want, that you could just make them for the season and change your mind next year. Like, it's so easy. But the trick really is just the patience of just watching that ink. I also like working over a white. If you don't have a white glass mat, just work over a piece of white cardstock. Because see how I can see that dark spot of ink? Do you see it right there? You can just see the ink is traveling easier on a white surface. It could even be a paper towel. Because you want to make sure that that ink has coated everything, and then you just tip it upside down. Let it go. Perfect. Perfect to put it out of frame, Tim. But there you go. Moving on. I'm going to do a grungy color because, well, I wanted to. Because I really wanted to do a mushroom version of this, and I didn't. So did I ask Mario to go and get me another box yesterday? I absolutely did. Because
I just said that. I had to make an emergency run.
He did, because there was 24 in the box, and I was like, I'll make 6 as a sample and then go. I couldn't stop. So when Paul said it's addicting, I could not stop. I made all 24, and I'm like, I didn't even make any grunge ones. I need some. And he's like, okay, I'll go get you some. All right. So it's really like a squeeze. I don't know. On this one, maybe it's a dime of ink. I really don't know. You could always go back and add more, but I will tell you the goal is to get enough ink in the first time, because alcohol ink also layers on top of itself. So if you add ink in each time, you're going to get different lines of ink. It's not going to be as seamless. Okay. So there you go. I'm just going to take this, tip it a little bit. Oh, look at that. Oh my heck. Look at how it makes that iridescent. That was mushroom. I knew that was going to be good. Okay. Put that on. I interrupt this to clean this hot pink off of my finger right now, because I'm not looking at my pink inked finger. Hand sanitizer for that. Yeah, that one's good. But I want them to dry because I also want to keep doing more so it has a chance to at least start drying. Now, I'll give you another tip. Let's say you want the color to be intense, okay? Could you dry it? You could. So let's say, because as you do them, right, you might find that it's like, as the pink is drying, you might be like, that's the perfect pink. But then maybe as it dries completely, you're like, oh, I wish it was a little darker, but maybe you didn't have a darker color. If you dry it quickly with a fan, it will freeze the color as it is, meaning it won't continue, because as this dries, you can see that pool of ink right there, and you can already see how this is translucent now, where when I first picked it up, it was like so much darker. If you like that darker ink, you can take a fan and you can dry it, but you still need to dry it upside down, because if you turn it back the other way, that drip of ink, see, I'm just like holding a fan. So there were a couple that I did this to where I held it upside down, but I just took a little fan and I was just turning it so the air is blowing up inside the hole, but I was still keeping it upside down. So that works. And who knows, you guys may be pros and have somebody that's going to design you like a cooling rack with air vents blowing up into, who knows, okay? But this is just going to be it. The drying time of this, it totally depends. It depends on where you are. It depends on the weather of the day. Is it humid? Is it dry? Is it hot? Is it cold? My advice, if you're not in a hurry, let it dry overnight. This way you're guaranteed that it's all the way dry on the inside, but it's not a problem, okay? There we go. That fan has 3 different speeds. Look at this one. Ooh, that's glorious. I love it. It's still wet. See, there's still ink on there, so I'm going to set it back down. But just wanted to talk real quick about drying. Could you do all the things? Could you do metallic? Could you do all that? Yes, but it will take away the translucency. It would be a metallic ornament. So you probably should just start with a metallic ornament. But if you are going to use metallics, you need to go in with blending solution. So there you go. All right. Beautiful, beautiful. Let's do another one. Okay. All right. Let's go with, what color should we do this one? Let's do a green. I do love this green. I think I'm going to do a little bit of, Everglade and a little bit of Mojito. Because I kind of want to create a not so dark green, but also not so light. Could you do black? You absolutely could do black. Black alcohol ink would be cool. It would be a black iridescent ornament for sure. That would be cool. Pitch black's a little thicker, but I'm sure it would work. You may just need to use more ink, or maybe that one you may want to use a little ISO. So this is a bigger ornament, so I obviously use more ink, but I still don't even think that's enough ink. So let me mix it. I'm just doing 2 colors because I want a different kind of green. Here we go. Just going to start turning. Possibilities endless. So good, right? So again, turning. So it starts dark. You can see that line. See why I'm working over something clear? So I can see that my ink hasn't transferred. So the color is Everglades and Meadow. There you go. Just continue to work upside down. I'm working over my paper towel because when I hit the end, whatever, see, it starts dripping out. Lessons learned. There we go. We're going to set that one. Oh, come on. Ta-da. Okay. Easy, wasn't it? So good. So for mine, I actually let mine dry probably a few hours because I just wasn't in a rush to put the tops on, because you do want the inside to be completely dry, because otherwise, like I said, you'd get that random drip of ink that's just going to travel down the inside. Again, not the end of the world if that happens, but I do love the idea of it. So is there a way to add 2 colors without mixing them? You could add a color on top of a color, but you'd have to control the swirl. So like if you took green, you could drip in blue and then swirl it around so it didn't coat the whole inside, but simultaneously, no, you would have to just do it separate. Or you could just use air. So did I put the wire back in? Yes. So when they're dry, I just take them, wipe them off, because there's going to be residual ink around the top of that. I wipe that off, and then you just push the wire down. Again, try to avoid touching this thin piece, touch the other wire, and then just put that back. Done.
Man.
There you go. That's how we have a whole plate of beautiful ornaments, because I like that. And could you color the tops a color? Absolutely. Alcohol ink works on all those things. So really great. And I've seen so many crafty things done with ornaments, you know, glittered, all that. So yes, sky's the limit. The technique, alcohol inking, iridescent plastic ornaments. Beautiful. So good. I love the idea of creating those. Okay. Move that out of the way. It couldn't be easier, right? And you could see that just sitting there, putting on your favorite Christmas movie and just start twisting those around. So good. Okay. All right. How am I going to give you this, Mario? Let me see. I need to hand you these. I'll put it in this container. No, that's glitter. I'll put it in this box, because I'll use my splat box in a minute. I'm just going to hand these to Mario real quick, because I don't think I can hold this. They're going to go rocking and rolling.
Take the rack?
Yeah, but I'm just going to slide in here so you can just carry that. There we go. Splat box of the wind, because if that goes rolling, it's going to be a party in here. Okay. All that ink. That's why I put either paper towel or something so it absorbs. There you go. I see the question asked again, glass, plastic, or both. It will work with either or. Those happen to be plastic. That's what I love. And remember, when you forget, that's the beauty of a video. You can always go back and rewatch it. So if you decide that you're going to do this next weekend, next month, and you're like, I'm not sure, just go back. It'll be timestamped by then, so you'll be able to click right away for that. It's really, and there's so many cool things that you can definitely do. I've seen there's adhesives for glitter inside. It's pretty amazing. All right. That was fun. I do love those finishes.
So fun to watch.
All right.
I really enjoyed that.
It's magic. Yeah, I think I'm actually going to just leave mine on the plate like this. They're really cool. Maybe I'll just gift them as a set. See? That's a great gift, just to give someone those beautiful ornaments that you made, right? Because you could take this to so many different areas. You can put tape around it and add rock candy so they're glittered. My gosh, sky's the limit. Okay, moving on, because that's what we do. We're moving on from there. I'm going to save these ornament toppers. Okay. So let's move away from alcohol ink for a second, and let's go to these, because I like this idea. Okay. This die from Sizzix is a die that came back this year as, let me just move my mat. It's going to drive me crazy like that. There we go. Okay. Came back as a classic. And what a classic was this year, instead of doing Vault with Sizzix, we just brought back dies exactly as they were that retired long ago. Now, anything that came back this year for Halloween and Christmas is gone again. Like, it is not going to be replenished. It will not be reordered. It's one and done. That's the whole idea of classic. It came back exactly as it was. So some of you may have this die and it's exactly as it was. Some of you maybe not. So I want to talk about it before it's gone again, because if you ever had to buy a die on eBay that was retired, the prices are dumb. But I love this die because there is beauty in simplicity. Okay. Sometimes you look at it and you're like, I don't get it. Looks a little childish. Well, it's how you see things. The concept of the die, though, is really quite simple. Okay. Comes with a die that's going to cut the pocket. Okay. It's going to be like the base, the little pocket that something goes in. Another die that actually cuts the box top, that has these little notches where a gift card goes, that fits in the pocket. Another die that cuts a piece of paper for the top of the box so you could layer a different piece of paper. And then decorative dies. There's a bow, there's a tag, and there's that little stripe that if you wanted to put it down the box, you could. All right? I didn't see a gift box this year. I know it came back because I loved it and people asked for it, and it really is one of my favorites. But I saw different things. Well, one of the things that I always mentioned seeing, because people are like, oh, it's a cute gift box. Well, it could be for every day, right? It just depends on the paper. This was released during the holiday season so many years ago in the brown packaging. 662. We're at like 666 now. Crazy. But one thing I always saw was how if you turn it over, it could be a totally different shape, like maybe a birthday cake. So instead of it being this kind of gift box, you turn it over and it could be a birthday cake where the bottom is the plate and you could put maybe a birthday gift card in there. And what you decorate with is completely up to you, okay? So it could always be the gift, it could always be the gift box, but turning it over, you can see different shapes. For this one, I went in and took another Christmas die that had a fun aesthetic. I wanted something that had a really big, fun, playful candle. So this is NORDIC. So I had great little birthday candles. It also has this fun little scallop. So that became like icing, and you just piece it together. You don't notice it. If you glossy accent it, you'll never notice a paper seam. So keep that in mind. If you ever had to like piece dies together, which I did, if you glossy accent them, it just seems to like hide the seam. But I also wanted it like shiny frosting, and then I just did silver. But you get the idea. This could be color, this could be patterned paper, you could add glitter, you could add sprinkles. Knock yourself out. It could be so many different things that, right, Mario? Because he did. I did this last night. He's like, what are you doing with these dies? I'm like, I'm making a birthday cake. He goes, with those? And I'm like, yep, Christmas and Christmas. But yeah, it's just fun. I do love that.
It's so awesome.
So it's just a fun, it is at the end of the day, you're right. It's a shape to use what you want. But sometimes, you know, we have to put a package image on there. And sometimes you see it and you're like, it's a Christmas box. I can't get past that. Okay, birthday cake. But this year I saw something else. Birthday cake was just, well, something I wanted to make. But this year I saw a really cute snowman hat. I thought, how fun to take a die and make a really wonderful, fun, and festive snowman hat. Because I do love Frosty's hat. I love top hats. So this could be a steampunk top hat, of course, right? You could take this, and if you didn't want to do it for Christmas, you could put gears and totally make it steampunk. But I love the idea of the simplicity in making Frosty the Snowman hat. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to create a cool little fun gift card holder using this die and some other festive dies that came out as classics. Okay, so let me get rid of the birthday cake and we'll talk about the stuff. Okay, So what I have here, and I'll go from start to finish. I pre-die cut a lot of stuff, but I'm going to take you through some of the backgrounds. You can really create this however you want. The foundation, of course, is just black cardstock that I've cut. And the black cardstock that I use, I'll bring this in so you can see it, because I want to give you some tips. If you're gonna actually do this, I want to give you some like money-saving tips. So my favorite cardstock is Distress Black Heavystock. Distress Black, you could use any cardstock, but Distress Black Heavystock is kind of suede-y. If you know, you know. If you have a piece of this paper, you know exactly. The first time you touched it, you were like, what is that paper? I just like it because it already has that suede-y finish that just doesn't look like regular cardstock. This was sold in the alcohol ink packs, which are skinny, and 8.5 by 11. I recommend 8.5 by 11 because if you do, you can cut the paper in half and get 2 complete top hats out of 1 sheet of paper. So I kept this here so you can kind of see my die placement. And I use like every little bit of space to get 2 out of a sheet of paper. The alcohol ink cardstock, it's the same paper, but it's smaller. So you can't fit all of these on that 1 sheet of paper, right? So again, this is the 8.5 by 11 Distress Black Heavystock, sliced in half. And there you go. All right, someone going back to the birthday cake. I just glued them to the back. Yeah, that's it. Okay, there we go. I wanted to answer that question. So what I did, I'm just gonna slide this off real quick, okay? I took my paper. You can see here now, there's our layout just to give you a better idea. Is that in frame? There you go, you can see that, thanks. And you have to just kind of be, I didn't use any tape either. I mean, I just kind of placed this down. So this die, well here, I'll line it up to this template. There we go. I placed this a little closer to the edge, not on the edge, but just a little closer because I was wanting that gap. This one, same thing, a little closer. So I have both of these more to the bottom edge. You guys see that? And that allowed me the real estate for the strip. Okay, that's all you need. Those 3 pieces to build the hat. Everything else is going to be embellishments. So we'll talk about the embellishments of it. I love this paper. So I've already cut a couple of sets of that. And like I said, the die cuts, it gives our crease. I love that it kind of even debosses. So it changes the finish of that a little bit. I think that adds to it. Also, it creates those notches to slide your gift card in. So you don't have to do anything after you cut it. Okay. So I kind of did that there also so you can go back and see it, or maybe if you're screenshotters, you screenshot. So like that's the template, because I did make a lot before. I was like, man, I'm burning through this black paper really quick. And I like just having everything done in one pass. Again, compartmental making, because you can just lay these out and make them and you're cutting a set at a time. Okay. All right. So that's the foundation. So I can move that to the side and I'll get these pieces out of the way. I'll come back to it. But I wanted some different things and different ways to embellish it. So we're going to talk about adding this snowy, icy finish. We're going to talk about splattering. But what really makes this hat are the embellishments, in my opinion. So I added some greenery. Now, again, this just was a good year for me because I got to bring back classics that I really, really loved that have been retired for so long. This was another classic favorite. This is Mini Festive Greens. Now we're going back to 661. Again, this came back exactly as it was this year for classics, but when it's gone for good again. This just has a lot of greenery. And to me, this size of greenery and the style can be used for so many different things, and I like to cut it apart. But when I do greenery, again, I like to do just batch making. So we're going to take you through and talk about how to do backgrounds. Because another thing that I got out, I said tomorrow, I'm like, I haven't even used my mica stains once this year. Because with Distress Spritz, oxide sprays, all that, like I just started using that more, but I'm like, I'm getting these out. Even though Ranger didn't re-release them this year, I know retailers still have them, but this stuff, I forgot how amazing it was. I'm going to show you some really cool ways to create. So this is just, you can see the beauty. The thing about mica stain, it's the color and the mica in one, and the mica takes on the color of the stain that I learned. So I make a sheet and I cut as many greens as I can out of that background, but heck, these pieces could be cool for card fronts. You know, that could be cool as a card panel. There's a bunch of holly, some other pines, and I'm going to show you how to easily layer and mix these. If you're like, I don't do sprays because I make mud, I'm going to kind of show you how. All right. The other die I did was my other favorite. I'd have to say it's my favorite snowflake of all, probably because I'm a 5-year-old, but this is called Scribbly Snowflakes. Also came back. Now, This came back exactly as it was, but it is a retired die. This just reminds me of all that whole, it wasn't really claymation, but you know, Rudolph, Frosty the Snowman, like all those Christmas cartoons that come on this time of year, and that opening scene, even in Elf, you see those like illustrated snowflakes. Totally what this reminds me of. I love the look of it because it just has a touch of whimsy, and that's what I like. There's other snowflake dies that are beautiful that are way more realistic, but this has so many cool whimsy shapes and their size perfect. Again, just look at that. That's a great panel for card. I was just using the real estate, but I cut out a bunch of snowflakes, okay? So let's get into the coloring. I'll talk about the cutting before we do the build, and I'll talk about these other accoutrements in a minute, all right? I'm just gonna set that there. Thanks, Mario. Okay, so the first thing is creating some backgrounds. Oh my heck. Would you mind grabbing me some distressed watercolor cardstock?
Sure.
Holy moly. It never fails. I mean, yes, I don't know what I'd do without Mario around, because I think I have it all figured out, guys. And then I realize I got nothing figured out. I think it's good. Yeah, I'll take this. These are already cut. Thanks.
You're
Perfect. I knew I had it, but here's the thing. I don't prep for a live until the day before. That's just who I am. It doesn't matter if I have a week, a month. You could lock me in my craft room for a week and I still won't do it. I'll do it the night before. And I know there's other creatives out there that have that same energy.
You do your best.
It's the same energy. I do my best creative thinking when I have no time to think. If I'm a planner, I don't get anything done. That's the thing. It's like I could sit around, be like, oh, I got all the time in the world, and then I do nothing. Okay, so I'm going to use distressed watercolor cardstock. Now you can use the bumpy side or the smooth. I prefer the smooth side for this because this bumpy side, the mica sits into all these little divots and it looks too patterny, if you will, right? So that's why I'm just going to work on the smooth side. Again, distressed watercolor cardstock, but use what you want. I'm using watercolor because it's going to work the best with water and color. All right, easy. I'm also going to use different colors of mica stain. So let me just talk about like my formula and what I did. It doesn't mean that you have to follow it, but it just made it easier for my brain to not overthink the ink. I pretty much went through my colors and tried to gather them up in a pair, in a set. Okay, so like greens, for example. I not only looked at the label, but I looked at the mica color at the bottom to see like, this was a cool green. So this was a dark and a light. So this was Tree Lot, and this is Wicked Elixir. This is Holly Branch, which is way more yellow, has like a yellow green pearl. And I put that with Bubbling Cauldron, which was a Halloween one. But again, these, we had a full palette of those. Then I wanted something a little icier, so I did Fresh Balsam, which is fabulous color, and Frosted Juniper. My favorite combo would be those two. And I'll show you where the colors are. And then the pink, I couldn't decide if I wanted Winterberry and Gumdrop or if I wanted Cocktail Party. Cocktail Party, if you're familiar with Distress, this is like picked raspberry. So I ended up going with these lighter ones because this was really intense, but I still used it. I kind of cheated with this one. So I'm just going to put off to the side. So all of these backgrounds, with the exception of the little pink splatter that I just told you about, are all done with only 2 colors of spray. But it's how you apply it and what you do in the layers that give such a cool play and gradation of color to the backgrounds. And it gives it just even down to little speckly flecks on here. It just gives some personality. Now, of course, you could just do this with colored cardstock. You don't have to do any of that. But I like the fact that, again, as makers, it is our superpower. Get out the paper, get out the stuff. You're like, well, I don't have time to do it. Just make background papers one night, and then the next night do your die cutting so you have stuff in the bowl, and then the next night, like, you can make so much more stuff if you just compartmental the process. Way, way easier to do. Okay, so let's go. Now you know my colors. I'm just gonna lay them down. Because it has a pearl in there, I like to lay it down because that pearl, instead of settling at the bottom, I want it to travel up the side. Typically I would do this, I would say about a half an hour to an hour before you're gonna do backgrounds. If you're that much of a planner, I just kind of lay them down. I'll lay them in a bucket to start. Then I'm gonna get my, oh, I gave you the splat box. Sorry, I was just looking for the splat box and I gave it to Mara with the ornaments. See, doesn't pay to be that much of a planner. All right, I'm going to use a splat box because you don't have to, but I'm using sprays and I don't want to have to clean up all the sprays. Okay. So
Bam,
thank you.
box.
You're banned today. All right. I'm going to take a paper towel, lay that in. You don't have to do this either, but I like to absorb as much color to not have as much of a mess if we can avoid it. So here's our process. Are we ready? Watercolor cardstock, smooth side, mica stain, heat tool, and a spray with water. That's going to be our process. So we're going to take our two colors and you're going to shake them up. Okay. Okay. Yeah, you can definitely use the glass mat. It's just going to be a little messier and you got more ink to clean. So that's all. All I'm going to do is shake these up until I don't see any sludge at the bottom. If I see sludge at the bottom, shake it up. Okay. There we have it. Now I want to layer the colors. So I don't want to blend the colors. I want to layer the colors. So if I started with wet, which I've done many times, as soon as I spray, my colors will start to travel. I'm not doing that this time. Instead, I'm just going to start with a color. Doesn't matter if it's light or dark. And I'm just going to spray it just in different areas, leaving some white space. Wipe off the little tip, pick up your second color. And now we're going to spray a little bit in the open areas and then some over the top of it. So again, it's whatever color you do. Perfect. Now we're going to mix it. Okay. So I'm just adding a little bit of water. So I'm just kind of more dripping. You can see that color start to just move and play, but it's also keeping its individual integrity. Because if the paper started wet, everything would just move right away. Okay, so I'm drying it. Now, anything you don't like if you don't like that it's speckly right there, hit it with water. It'll move. If you don't like this drip of color, pick up your paper, touch, touch, done. It's gone. See, now you don't have that harsh line of color because it's off in the paper towel. That's why I like to use a paper towel, because it's just easier that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dry this, and you can see already just the beautiful background that we're creating. If you want more drips, well, now that it's starting to dry, I can add a little bit more water, but this time I'm just doing drops. See, I've got drops of water. That's going to break it up a little bit. If I wanted to remove some color, I can also dab some of it off. Anything to kind of create just a different gradation of color. And once you're happy with the blend, which I am, I just want to make sure that most of that water is gone. You could dry it or blot it. Take your darkest color. So now I'm going to go back to Tree Lot. And this time I'm going to keep my distance and do really short spritzes that are more like a splatter. If you don't like to do that, you can unscrew this and splatter with the little schnozzle that's in there. But this way, you'll see, I'll just kind of keep my distance. And it's just going to add, see, just by keeping your distance, you're going to get these big splatters of color, and we're going to dry it. And that's it. That's our background. Done. Don't have to overthink it, but when you look at it, it's really, really pretty. And this is something that, like, I mean, Mario's a rock star. I'll just say, hey, can you help me do backgrounds? And he can knock these out. And that's what I love about seeing the creative part of things come to life. It's easy, isn't it? Look at that.
Easy.
See that background? So like it looks like you, but it's just easy. You just do, because Mario's not one to overthink either. He just wants to get it done, just like I do. Just get it done, because you're going to cut it out. So all of those things about like, oh, I need this and I need, why? You're going to lay things down and it's going to cut through it anyway. But it makes, and this is totally done and dry. Beautiful. Okay, let's do another one. Let's do this one because I really like it. So same rules apply. Take that, shakety shake. All right. Look at the bottoms, shakety shake. Look at the bottoms, shakety shake. Okay, let's go in with, do a little fresh balsam. It's a nice green, kind of sagey. This juniper is like really nice. It's kind of sprucey blue. And you can always go back, like I think I want a little bit more green, so just gonna put some on there. Then hit it with some water. This is where we get our color to blend, and start drying it. And you could pick up the cardstock. I mean, you could do whatever motion you need to, but it's really simple. All right. So as I'm drying this, I'm just watching it. See, because you'll see right away, that ink is going to pool up on the side. And it doesn't really matter because I never die cut right to the edge, but for some reason it has always bothered me. So I just take that off because it's like my eye seems to go there. Look, it's gone. Beautiful, beautiful. The difference between mica stain and distress spritz. Mica stain is a colored stain with a color mica. Spritz is no color liquid, it's clear, and it has a coordinating color of mica that could go onto something. So like if I sprayed this over pink, it would color it blue. Whereas if you had blue spritz, you could put blue spritz over pink and it would be a pink background with little blue pearl. It's nice, huh? All right. So then I'm just gonna blob this on. But mica stain was definitely the inspiration for spritz. Okay. Yes, this is just how we did the background for decorating the top hat. I just think it's important instead of saying, oh, you just make some backgrounds, just to kind of show you how easy it is to make the backgrounds. So see, look, that one I wanted a little snowy. So I go back to a color. In this case, I'm going to go back to that juniper, keep my distance, and just add those little splatters. Okay. So that's how easy it is to do your background papers, and then you die cut it. Simple, simple, simple. And do you have to use a heat tool? No, you can let it air dry. Look at that background. So good, the colors of that. Okay. Thanks for bringing that in, Mario. I'm going to keep it here because I know I'll need it again. That's just how it is. All right. Background's done. Take your dies, whatever dies you're going to use, whatever your greenery is, put them on, cut them out, okay? If you have a lot of detail dies like this, which I tend to use a lot of detail pieces, if you're having trouble cutting cardstock with your detail dies, hello, hi. Get yourself a precision base plate, okay? This is a chrome precision base plate. This is what you can use in your machine to help those detail dies cut clean in one pass, okay? So that's what I used to cut them. Doesn't mean they don't cut with the regular cutting pads, it can, but I find like if I have a die that I've got to run 2 or 3 times and I've got to just poke it out for like 20 minutes, I'll never use the die. So I just use the base plate and it's one pass cut good. All right. Wonderful, wonderful. So those are our backgrounds. So now we're going to get back to our tray and what else we did. So far, so good, Mario?
Very good.
I appreciate the chat. He's watching it also. So this is where I got all of these little pieces. So now you can see like I cut holly, pine. In there I've got little holly leaves. That's the one where I did all the little juniper branches. There's a couple of different sizes in that die set. I cut some really big pine branches. Here I did the pink berries, just so I had stuff to decorate the hat with. Already done. Because if I had to make one at a time and cut this stuff out, like that's not gonna happen. Okay. But when I got to the snowflakes, I really wanted it to stay wintry white because we are going to use white on this. And so I just did this out of regular watercolor cardstock just because I wanted the same thickness. But then I wanted to add a little bit of sparkle. So all of these have some rock candy on there. Can you guys see that? Maybe it's better in the bowl. There you go. Now you can see it. So you can glitter these. Super easy to glitter them. Here's how I did that. Anything that I thought somebody would say, I don't have time to do it, I figured I can go ahead and order this. Okay. You're going to get yourself a pair of tweezers or squeezers. These are the ones I did with Sizzix, but anything that's going to have a fine point that's going to hold on to stuff, okay? Because it is pretty detailed. Whatever glitter, you know where I'm going. I'm going to the mixture. A container. It could be whatever size container that you want. And here's what we're going to do. You're going to take your snowflake. You're going to attach your squeezer into kind of the center, but see, you don't need a lot of grab. Like I don't have to go all the way across, okay? Just grab enough where it's holding on to it. Then we're going to work on our wax paper. We've got that. And we're going to use glossy accents, okay? But now I'm going back to the bottle that actually has the tip. And there's many ways. I've seen people like spread out glue and you can dip it in glue. There's many, many ways that you can apply this, okay? But here, if you want it to be, in fact, let's just show that way because maybe you haven't seen it. It's easy. Like you can just typically like just draw on it really quick, which is what I did. But let's say you want a lot of glitter, okay? We'll go back and share that other way. Well, this is already open. I'm just going to squeeze some out. Typically, because this is a good one. All right. Here's, maybe you haven't seen this glue trick. Any kind of glue. Oh my gosh. There we go. Threw the cap right on the ground. Any kind of glue will work. Get yourself a paintbrush, piece of palette paper, whatever your liquid glue is, and just actually tap the glue on. We're not even painting it. You're just tapping it. Then you're just going to pick it up, hold it over something, pour your glitter over it, shake it off, and it's done. There we go. There's your glitter. And you're just going to let it dry. You just unhook it, set it down, let it dry. Do another. So that could be a quick way if you have a lot of detail pieces that really don't matter. That could be really, really simple. Just take your glue, tap, tap, tap. Because we want the glue to build up, that's why I'm not painting it. Ooh, I've got color on my brush. A little pinky snowflake. Glitter, shake it off, sparkly. Okay, so now you got how we prepped all the little embellishments. These, you just clean it off with a baby wipe. Nice. All right. And you could add the glitter to the, you could add glitter to anything. We already know. It's so possible. Okay. Put these right on here because these are sharp. Okay, now we've got the embellishments done. Here are some other things that we're going to do because we're ultimately going to create our hat, right? Which is going to have the top, the bottom. So some other embellishments I did, I wanted some metallic. So I just used some metallic droplets. These are from idea-ology. You can use, maybe you have rhinestones, maybe you have a little charm. I just wanted it to look kind of ornamental, but you could zhuzh these up however you want. To me, the star of the show is what Mario found, which is this 1-inch velvet ribbon. I wanted a hat band and I was going to do it out of paper and I was looking at flocked paper. You know, sometimes as a paper crafter, you only think in the world of paper. And Mario's like, well, couldn't you just use a piece of ribbon for that? And I'm like, holy moly, off to the craft store we go. So 1 inch.
How many times did we go that day?
Many, because but he's the one that like I wanted to do this with paper in my brain, but ribbon was so much better because it has a finished edge. It's got that feel. Brilliant. So that's really what it was. Just so good. Okay. Now we're going to get into the build. So just going to move this aside again. All right. So for our hat, it's going to be that pocket piece, the hat piece, and the brim of our hat. You can do this however you want to do this. I'm showing you the way I built it. So there could be many, many options. Always trust that. Just do what's gonna work for you. What I like to do is I have a piece of acrylic. This happens to be just a grid block. I'm going to line up the edge of the block with the score line. So I know that the edge of my paper is where my score line is. So I just place it at the end of the block and I push against it. Flip it over. I take that and I push against it because it already has crease rule in the die and I don't need to get out a scoring tool or anything. Again, go right up to where that paper ends and push that. So now all of my folds are done. Those are the only fold requirements for this whole thing. Then depending on how much of a messy crafter you are, I'm a gluer, but I could be a messy gluer when it comes to envelopes. And I've made enough of these to know that like sometimes my best efforts, I'll go to make this and I think all is good and I have glue ooze and now my pocket is now a solid element. Could you use tape? You could use tape as long as your tape is strong enough. Remember, Distress Black Heavystock has a weird little suede finish. So sometimes tape is not ideal, but if you've had success with that, use it, all right? But what I do is I just take a piece of transparency. It could be scrap packaging. It's probably what this was. And I cut a piece that just fits inside. So any glue ooze will go onto the plastic and not the paper. That's just what I do. But again, if you're making 10 or 20 of these, I'm telling you, this will save you so much time. So now I'm just going to take a liquid glue. I'm just using, this is craft glue from Simon Says, just scribbling it on. But could you use glossy accents? Yes. Collage medium? Yes. Whatever glue you want. This one just dries. It dries pretty quick, pretty fast, pretty grippy. So with the plastic in there, I'm just going to take this and kind of hold down the tabs, fold this over so it touches the tabs, and I'm going to press this down. Okay. Where's my cloth? There we go. Just hold this. Now, if you're doing many of these, so now I can just take this out. See, there's no glue ooze. It's glued. You can hold this in place if you have, and I plan on making more. So when I make a bunch, I'm not giving it as much thought as one. I also have some ideology clips, but any kind of clips will work. But if you got some clips, just put them right on the edge, just while this is drying. If you have a fast drying glue or tape, you're good to go. So we moved on. That's our little pocket. And now we have these pieces. So again, this is where our gift card's going to go. This is going to be our piece that's going to sit on the top. This could just get glued flat, but because I wanted to create a little bit of dimension, because after all, it's a hat, it doesn't stick up as much as the ribbon. This pocket's actually designed to have a little, I'll show you when I undo the clip. It's actually designed to have a little bit of an air pocket in there. So the gift card goes in and out easier. It's just how we shortened one and elongated the other. So that's how it actually stays. Even when it's done, it will always dry with an open mouth because, well, that's what it's for. You want to be able to put your gift card in easy. So just know that it's designed that way. So what I did for the hat is I just used some foam squares. You can use any kind of foam adhesive, and I just attached this with foam adhesive. And I know you're probably thinking, I thought he was going to ink it. Why didn't he ink it? I honestly don't ink it till it's built because I want it to be messier, I guess. It's the only way I can describe it. Messier. I want it to look like a snow flurry. But if you wanted to take your blending tool and do all of that stuff, you can. But I'll just show you how I'm doing it. But I did want to answer that because, yeah, I probably would have done inking before the build, but not in this case. I liked the snowy look. All right, just going to take this, kind of line it up-ish, place it down, done. So now that's going to be the bottom. This is long done. Take this off. See, there's our pocket. See what I mean? It's good. Even though this dries flat, it just will always have that little opening. And there's no front or back at this point. This is, I mean, that's our hat. Now comes the embellishment part. And this is probably going to drive you even crazier. So just remember, you do you. Next, I am going to add the ribbon, even still, before I ink. I take a piece of ribbon. I figure out a little bit wider than the top because this is just our inside piece. So we don't need that. We're just dealing with the top hat. Take your scissors. Now, if you're really good with ribbon and you're precise, go for it. Cut it. I just like to cut the ribbon a little bit bigger. You'll see why in a second. The other thing when it comes to ribbon is I kind of try to avoid liquid glue. Even, I mean, if this is all you have, you could use it. It would totally stick on the ribbon. But I find I get a little messy when I do that. So I just have some score tape, but you could, again, use whatever works. But here's how I apply it. I'm just going to take the tape. I'm going to start off of the edge. I'm going to go and make sure you're doing it on like the pocket side, the side where the pocket's open, okay? And the ribbon is 1 inch, so as long as your tape, when you do it, I think this maybe this is 3/8 tape. I don't know what measurement it is, but I go just a little bit above the pocket. I don't go all the way down, and I start and stop over the edge a little bit, okay? Bear with me. Then I'm going to do another strip right on top of that because I know that combined, this is still just a little shy of 1 inch, but I don't overlap it. I just kind of line it up. Again, just over the edge. But here's why I do that. Because if you're used to using this tape and you tear it, you need adhesive all the way to the end. Otherwise, your little hat band is going to kind of lift off and not look good. So I just wanted to make sure I had adhesive all the way to the end. So that's why I had a little excess. And this just, I flip it over and I trim it off. Like I said, some people might just be like, that is ridiculous. I would have figured this out. But this is just how it's my process. Because I like everything to be kind of precise and clean. Then these pieces, tragic. They're gone. Right? That's it. Okay. So now that I have these ready and I have my ribbon ready, same rules apply. Just going to take a pick. Just going to peel off just using the end of a craft pick with a little adhesive. And we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to place my ribbon, know that I get to start off the edge. And I just want it to just be a little bit off of that hat. Tappity tap. So fuzzy side up, ribbons over the end, same thing. Now I can just take this and get a nice clean edge. Now you might think, because I thought it, oh, I'm just going to wrap the ribbon around the hat. Well, that sounds good in theory. However, if you do that, the band is wider. And so this little gap, which is already small, but it's small and cute. I mean, I still think it looks like a top hat and I love it. Could you make a longer strip? Absolutely. But I just felt that when I wrapped it around, it actually cut this little overhang in half. So the view, it didn't look like a hat anymore. It just looked like a box. So that's why I just decided that's clean, nice clean edge. But it's an easy way to make a nice, perfect straight edge, because otherwise, if I tried to start the ribbon here, you know, it wouldn't have gone well. The ribbon would have gone off the rails, like whatever it is. So is that worth my sanity? Yes, every little time. It absolutely is. Okay. So far, so good. Okay. Now I'm going to add the ink. So could you have inked before at any point? Sure. I'm using Distress Picket Fence. Distress Picket Fence is actually a white pigment ink, but it was before oxide. So this is when we wanted to do like a pigment ink, but put it in a felt pad. And this is actually the inspiration for oxide. When it was like, hey, we can actually put a white pigment into a felt pad. What if we added dye to it and made it in colors? And then oxide was born. And then it became something cool. But I love that, see, I can just go direct to paper and just add that like snowy look. I'm not worried about the ribbon. If it gets a little bit there, who cares? It's just neat. And I even like, you know, kind of going a little flatter and just creating some different directions. It's just neat. I like the snowy look. So again, just direct to paper, go on this edge, just go into it. Maybe I want to go across. See, create little, that's just fun to me. But you do what makes you happy. Bring as much snow to the party as you want. There we go. Easy enough. Drying time on this. This is probably going to take maybe 5 minutes or so to dry. If you want the ink to dry, you can use a heat tool, but I don't even wait for it to dry before I do the build. I just go for it, all right? So the thing to remember about however you make these, and I'm just firing this up for a second. However you make these, when you're creating this, again, if you think of this as compartmental, you've done all your die cutting, you've done all your folding, you've done all your ribbons, now you've done all your inking. It does not take long at all. I know that watching this, besides all of my talking, you're like, my gosh, that took him like an hour to make. It doesn't. It's just me giving you all the tips along the way. So I just want to preface that. Okay, let's bring in all of our little delights, whatever we want to have. There's so many fun little things to, and this little bit, and I mean, you saw, all that's in the bowls is really that sheet of paper that I showed you, that little quarter sheet. It's a ton of stuff, because I'll show you when it comes to adding the greenery, a little goes a long, long way. Okay, there's our little bits. So I just look at this like how I would see it like tucked into a band, if you will. So when I take the pine, for example, well, I mean, yeah, I guess it could be like that, kind of be like Peter Pan's feather, but I didn't. I was like, I just want a little bit because I don't want it to overwhelm the hat. So you just prune. So I just look in there, I'm like, oh, that's a good spot. I'll just cut that right here. Great. Now I have two pieces, two hats, two projects out of one die cut. So that can go back in the bowl. Same thing with the juniper. You can either take a big branch or maybe you cut the small one. Either one, but if the small one's going to give you one, this will give me two. So I'll just cut that there and I have two pieces. You just prune, right? Isn't that what you do?
You just prune.
You just prune. Same thing with the little berries. I just look and I'm like, oh, there's a good place right there. Cut. You got two pieces. Prune. So each thing goes back. And you don't have to use all these pieces. I just like the mix of colors and kind of greenery that I wanted to use. I thought the holly leaves were fun because you just can tuck them in different places. You can add as many. I just added one. But you get the idea. Like, it doesn't take a lot to do one hat. So this is going to be, I don't even know how many hats I'm going to make out of this. A ton. And that was just a quarter sheet of paper. So just be mindful of that before you get into that whole compartmental mode. Sometimes it does go a little haywire where you compartmental make, well, that's how we were with baubles, where you have more than you probably will need for the season. Okay, then we've got a snowflake. I love this one. I'm going to use this one because I haven't used this one yet. I love all the Scribbly snowflakes. They're just, it's tough to find it. Now, I will say that the design of this die, because it was designed to say glue on a card, a lot of the designs have like little dots, like this snowflake, for example, that we're going to use, right? The die is also going to cut out these dots. I don't use them for this project. They just go in the waste. Same with that. But it, you know, that's just something that you know that if your negative has a cute negative, that's a negative. So those are the dots. But just know. Okay, let's start sticking whatever glue you want. Hot glue, liquid glue, whatever. But when I'm building this, I want to keep it a little airy, if you will. Meaning I don't want these to be Xyron or adhesive because I want some of the pieces to stick off of the hat. So I just start just using a little bit of that glue, just kind of sliding it in there, and then I'll take my fingers and just kind of bend it forward so it stays. Look, I'm no florist, so just you figure out what's going to work for you. Heck, maybe you're even going to do these clusters ahead of time and you stick a cluster down. Now that's compartmental making 2.0 right there, where you're like, yeah, compartmental making, I'm doing cluster build. Stand back, hold my eggnog, Holtz. We're going for it. Because you could make these clusters, you know, on a craft sheet or a piece of parchment and just have them ready and just stick it all down. You don't have to do an arrangement each time. That's another time-saving thing, right? Here we go. So even this leaf, I'm just bending it just to give it a little bit of life. Take that, put that in there. So that's what I have so far. Just kind of all stuck around. But see, little zhuzhi. Then snowflake. Find a couple of areas solid. This glue dries clear and matte, so that's really nice. Just kind of figure out where you want that, what type of wonk you want that to have. Stick your finger down, hold it. Oh, see, then you glue your finger back to it. I also like that it just kind of rolls off your fingers. But if you didn't like this, you can use hot glue, but this glue really doesn't take long to grab. Okay, droplets, just because when I used them on the last, see, isn't that thing like if you watch the live last Saturday with Rudolph where I took out the colored ones, I'm like, oh, the nose. Isn't that weird? Like I haven't used droplets, well, probably since they came out. Really? I just had them and I'm like, yeah, probably not for me on things. But then when you have the right project and you remember them, isn't that just typical as makers? You like forget what's in the toy box sometimes. And then one idea will spark the next and then you go digging and before you know it, you'll love it again. All right, a couple of drops of glue. Sit these little guys in there. There we go. At this point in my real craft room life, this would be like 2 inches from my face with my tongue sticking out as I hover over meticulously for the landing of those droplets. There we are. Okay, so now we have the build. All that's left is the snow. And the snow could be totally forgotten. You could have done snow before you even built it. I just like everything being snowed. So that's what I'm going to do. Move this out. So in comes the splat box again. Now that I've got my hat, I put it together. Look at that. So cute.
Yeah.
Come on, so cute.
So cute.
And then we're just going to add the snow because to me the snow also makes it. But you could add more glitter, you could add grit paste, you could do a lot of things. If you're going to be making several of these, try to keep it simple if you can. For that, white paint and a splatter brush, whatever you use to splatter. I'm using a distressed splatter brush to actually do the splattering, but you do what's going to work for you. Just going to put a little bit of paint on the glass. Doesn't need much. Distressed paint's already fluid enough for splattering, so you don't need to, but if you had regular acrylic paint or gesso, you'd want to thin it out. So I'm just going to like sweep through it to pick it up so there's paint on the tips. I'm pulling back from the middle and I'm letting little pieces go as I angle it. You'll see what happens. So I'm not plucking a harp here. I'm just going around and just watching where the snow falls. And you can just move this around. And you can flip the brush over to get paint. You can pick up more. So your fingers should be totally clean because you've only worked here. And then when you pick up your card, you've got just the best little snow flurry. It's simple. I like that. So that's it. Simple, cute, fun idea for a die that maybe you've seen, but let me hand that to you. Thanks, Mario.
Sure.
Thanks. Maybe you've seen, but it's just like, yeah, I don't know. The gift card just doesn't seem, where is it now? This gift card doesn't seem too exciting. Well, I think it is. I think it's cute. I think it's nice. And then, of course, you put in your favorite little gift cards, and that's just hilarious. But I do think that the splattering is like, it is key. But see, even the little bit of white, see, like the messier it is, it just looks more wintry, I guess. Because blended, it looks a bit shadowy and smoky if you blend it. So, but if that's what you like, do it. Okay. What is the name of the gift card die? Are you ready? I think it's called gift card box. I think that's what it is. I think it's called gift card, maybe gift card package. Not sure. The number is, I can't even see it. 662417.
It might have the name on the back.
Oh, no, that's on the folded piece
Oh,
that
yeah,
gets torn
sorry.
off. Yeah, someone will know. Someone will know out there. That's it. Cute though. So again, classic, retired, and Scribbly. But when I say classic, it means these all came back this year. So they would be in stock at retailers. But when they are sold out, they will not come back. So if you decide to do this next year and you're like, oh, I'll get the die next year, that's where things go awry in the world of eBay, right? All right. Did you guys like that one? That was fun. I liked it. All right. Cute, cute. Okay. I love that little hat. It just makes me, it just makes me happy. And so does the birthday cake, because you know I'm going to take that whole cake idea and I'm going to Sprinkle Town. It's going to be, it's going to be fun. I do. Did you know I'm going to find a way to like add some little sprinkles? I'll probably put glossy accents and take those little micro sprinkles. Come on. Plus, I mean, I started looking in my stash of, you know, different cake toppings. Like there's a garland in one of the Christmas dies. I can't forget. Maybe it's even called Deck the Halls, but it's like all these really skinny. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that'd be so good. And then I even got like, this would make a cute wedding cake. And I, you know, don't think that it would look cheesy. It looks cheesy now, but imagine if this was done in white and you added like some really delicate, like from that Deck the Halls die in metallic, forget the candles, but then that's a great way to do a gift card. Just think it's fun. I like it. I like thinking outside the box. Okay, so we've already done a lot of alcohol inking. We did a good gift card. So we're gonna do one more make, and this was my favorite. It was circling back to the make that I did last year during the 2024 holiday Hoopla, and I loved it. It was incredibly fun. It's this little lantern, okay? Now, these lanterns, I did pick these up at Hobby Lobby, and it created a frenzy last year because they were gone. You couldn't get them online. Like, they just seem to, they're my favorite. It is a plastic lantern. I'm going to do a whole demo again. So if you've already seen it, you're like, I'm out of here. But I'm going to show you what I did different this year. But I love the fact that it's battery operated. It has a great little, see, it's got a little flicker in there. They're cute. But this is what we did last year. And it was fun. It was a drippy candle, and I'll review it real quick, but it was like, talked about greenery. However, this year, one idea sparked another. So can I see that tray real quick, Mario? The muffin pan, please. Just want to,
Yeah,
oh, I can
sure
grab it.
can.
No, I can grab it. Thanks. Okay. So I made this one this year, and this was using the idea-ology woodland garland, right? This is what it was. And I made these, and I'm like, this is so cute. I love it. I love municipal decorations. Municipal decorations, those are the decorations that you'd see like in your city or a town, like something on the side of a, you know, we have ours on the side of a courthouse or on a lamppost. And I love the idea. And I'm like, hold on. So I took my other one apart because I made two last year. And this is the one I created this year. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Man.
How is it that that little piece is the perfect size, the perfect arc to go inside that lantern and create, and I made it into like a little shaker, snowy globe. But look at that. Isn't that the cutest? So we are going to make this municipal candle lantern this year. That's what we're going to do. So fun. Because these things, like, they're so inexpensive, but I think, like, now when I look at this, I'm like, so when are you going to finish this? Because this looks unfinished to me now, but now, so good.
Serious upgrade.
It is an upgrade. I agree. All right. So I'm going to break it down into certain steps, and then anytime I need to kind of get to the meat of it, it is a shakety shake. Yeah, all of this, so you can see in there, all that, this is mica flake and rock candy. So it does have the shakety snow in there. You know it. It's gonna shakety shake, it's gonna do it. Okay, I love it. Oh my gosh, look at that little glow. Okay, so let's bring it in. Let's bring it in bit by bit as to not overwhelm with unnecessary details to start, because I do want to break it down just so you can see that it's manageable. Okay, this is one that the more you make, the better. Okay, the more you make in sections, the better. All right. First thing you have to do is you have to take this apart. Okay, it has little screws on the bottom. You take out just these 4 screws, and I've already done that. Okay, because I want to show you what you get when you take it apart. When you take it apart, the bottom comes out. Okay, those are the screws. Save the screws like in a little cup or something. This is the candle piece, and it slides over the light, and it just like rests right there. Okay. You have the lantern shell, and you have the box, and the box is tapered. Very important that you remember that it's tapered. The skinny side goes up. The bottom part is what fits on. So essentially, this sits here on this little channel, and this whole entire thing fits up inside this lantern, and you screw it together and it lights up. Okay, so once you take out the 4 screws, all these pieces come out. So don't like, oh my gosh, what happened? They're all loose. But here's what we do with them. Each thing kind of gets just modified a little different. And these are so inexpensive, really. They're so cheap. That to me was the fascination. So I was inspired by this. I mean, that's their version of a drippy candle-ish, but I'm doing the Tammy B version where kind of learn about the whole hot glue. So what you're going to do is you're going to add hot glue drips around the candle. And to do that, you just take a glue gun. If you have a nice detailed tip like this one, all the better. You take the candle, and I did this last year as well. So, I mean, if you need a different version of this, you can go and see it. You're going to squeeze the glue. You're going to trail it down a little bit, give it a little bit of a squeeze, and go back up, okay? Because you want to create that drip. So see how it goes? It starts, it goes light, and then it creates the drip. And then you just continue. You go around to the next piece. Maybe you're just going to do a little dribble there. Then the next one, you're going to kind of go down. But don't go down too far. I would say don't go down more than halfway wherever you go. Also, only do this one time around. Okay, so you can continue. If you find that your hot glue isn't setting quick, you can just hold it in front of a fan while you do it, and that will catch it really quick. But you don't want to do 2 layers, and the reason is if your glue is too thick, it won't fit. I mean, you could see like it barely fits in between that acrylic. So if you're like, oh, I'm going to add like tons of drips, like layers and layers, the candle won't fit back up into this acrylic housing if you do. And if that's the case, you have to just peel it off and kind of start again. All right. So you continue all the way around until it cools and you're left with this, right? Easy enough. So there you can see the drips. And if any of these drips get in the way, you can still cut them. It's hot glue, so you can trim them off. All right. So you can get the idea. I'm just going to finish this drip because then I'll already have one started because I'll be making many, many more. So why don't I just finish this? Because it doesn't, once you just get into it, you just lose yourself. Don't even be a perfectionist. But having a detailed tip glue gun makes all the difference because you're just drawing with it. And I'm starting on the edge. Does that make sense? And if the glue drips weird, even better. It's a drippy candle. Isn't that simple? And then you just finish it. So there you go. So there's all of our glue drippages. I will tell you that when I make them, I do just take a fan real quick while it's standing upright and just hit it for a few seconds just so it doesn't continue to travel down. It seems here in Arizona, hot glue takes a little bit longer to set immediately, and I don't want drips down to my knees. Okay, there you go. Perfect. So now I'm just going to set this aside and let it cool. After it cools, you end up with this, okay? Once this dries, you're going to paint the candle. Now, the paint that you're going to use is whatever color you want your candle to be. I used antique linen distress paint. This is where it starts to get a little different from last year, okay? So when you paint this, we're painting hot glue and plastic. And the paint it takes forever to dry, I just think. And you can't use a heat tool to dry it because the heat tool remelts the hot glue. It's just a mess. And cool air, it doesn't really dry the paint. So I would say that when you do the painting step, you want to give this at least an hour to dry, even with acrylic paint. I mean, you might find clever ways to speed up the process, but I'm telling you that you want to let this dry before we do the step after that. Also, when you paint it, only go halfway, which is going to seem weird, and it's going to really hurt your brain about like, oh my gosh, but I didn't cover this drip. It is what it is. You get what you get. The reason is because when we install the wreath isn't really a full wreath. We actually build this from end to end. So it has to glue onto this candle. And if it glues onto the paint, it could actually peel off and pop open, which it did the first time I did. All right. So it's really important that you just save yourself the agony that I had and just stop the paint. This is going to get covered up with the mechanics of this anyway. Okay. So that was my other tip. So once it's done drying, which that's why I prepped this ahead of time, because I want to show you the grunging of it. You're going to grunge. Let me just grab my stuff over here. I have stuff kind of behind me. We're just going to grunge with a crayon. Now, grunging is optional. If you're happy with this, great. If you wanted to glitter it, great. I just love the whole grunginess of a drippy candle, so I am going to grunge mine. To grunge it, you're just going to take any color of a distressed crayon. You're going to find yourself some type of brush. I'm just using a tiny blending brush, a little mini blending brush, but you could use a paintbrush. You could even use your fingers if you want, but a brush is easier. I'm just going to scribble some of the crayon, just move this out of the way, onto the mat. This is just kind of my antiquing. It's much easier than gel stain or anything like that. I'm going to spray a little bit of water off to the side of the color, not on the color. And then I'm just going to make like a little grungy wash where I'm going to, because this is water reactive. So when the water hits it, it's going onto my brush, and then I can just dab it on. So I'm just picking up that sludge and just dabbing it. And it's okay if you get it up here on the flame or anywhere else other than the paint. It's okay, because we're gonna also clean it off. But see, the brush, it's stiff enough that it actually works that color in, but certain paintbrushes could do the same thing. And you want to grunge the whole deal, even if it's like, I don't want it that dirty. Don't worry, we're going to clean it off. But we want to get the grunge essentially inside those drips so we can reveal the outside. Okay, that's it. That easy. I have a dedicated grunge brush, but if you needed to clean that, you can clean the crayon off just with water. Okay, so far so good. All right, let me just clean that off so I don't have to work in the mess. Then I'm going to take this paper towel that I've cleaned up with, and I just want to make it damp. So just a spray of water. And you might even just be able to use your fingers if it has moisture on it. But see, I can just use my fingers. As long as there's moisture, that's what's going to start cleaning off that crayon. So we're just dabbing it off, leaving however much grunge you want on your candle. And the rest will dry. It will dry. It won't come off every time you touch it. This also allows me to go in and just clean this off completely, because crayon is always water reactive. So when it gets wet, that's when it reacts and lifts off. Okay, so that's how we do the drippy candle, the modification of the drippy candle. It's hot glue, let it cool, paint it with whatever. So if you want your candle to be red, paint it red, right? If you don't want to grunge it, don't grunge it. But that's how we get to the candle portion of the make. Okay, so now we'll talk about the base. The base of this could be whatever. I just wanted to give it kind of an old world metallic-y look. And for that, Mario's like, what do you need? Oh, I have one. I kept one. I'm like, for that, you really want a dry brush. For me, I have all my brushes. This is all my brushes from today. They're sitting in like the smallest amount of, but I'll hand this to you because I'll knock them over. Thanks. Thank you.
You want it back?
No, I'll just use this one. This will be fine. Okay. You could leave it black. You can use other things. Some people have metallic waxes, rub and buff. You can use any kind of metallic. I just made a gold and silver version using distressed paint because that's what I have and that's what works. But you can use any kind of metallic. So maybe it's going to be brass or pewter or bronze. I'll just use brass because I think that looks really, really nice. And it's super simple. Okay. Just going to take some of that paint. Now the metallic paints are really, really wet. But whatever you have as a metallic, could you use an alloy, a mixative? Yeah, now you can use those. Get those out. You can use those, create whatever finish, or you can just leave it black. I just like the idea of just giving it a little antique. So I'm just going to pick some metallic paint up on my brush. I'm going to kind of take off as much as I can, and I'm just going to dry brush this. Meaning with the dry paint brush, you're just going to start swiping the metallic paint on it. And this, you know, bigger brushes will do different things, but this has so many little crevices that a smaller brush I find works easier for me. But see how you can just add some antiquing? It's that simple. But just know that anytime you pick up some paint, just wipe some of it off. And I just like to leave some of the black exposed. You can always go back and see I like hitting a little, just a little bit more in certain areas, but you get the gist, right? So you would do that to the whole thing. This probably will take, I don't know, maybe a few minutes to dry, if that. It almost dries on contact if you're doing it right, because you want it to be dry brush. Okay, easy, easy. Done. So imagine that was done, because I want to get to the good stuff. Get to the good stuff. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about the garland, because that to me is where it's all about, because we have our base, we have our foundation. As far as our embellishment, I'll talk about that real quick because that shouldn't take long. This embellishment is what I wanted to put on the front. Do you have to embellish the front? Not at all. I just love these little plaques from Idea-ology. I love the font of it. I love what they say. If you bought them in different years, you might have different sentiments. This is Merry Christmas. And it's really just taking the metal, taking the crayon. In fact, I'll just do it right now. I'm going to grab one right over here. Ooh, this is an old one. All right. Don't get upset. This is a retired one. This one says Wonderful Life. I love that one. But you're just going to take a distress crayon. You could also do this with white paint, scribble it on, and just take your fingers and literally push that color around to your liking. That's it. It'll dry and it'll stay on that metal. It's not waterproof, but it won't come off if you touch it. It really will dry. And you want to get some crayon in there, kind of like a cheese grater. Like you want to get some of that pigment in there. But see how I'm using my finger to just move it around? And you just do it until you like it. Maybe you want to leave some extra, like I like that. Maybe you want extra, so you just put more on there. And then the ends of the holes, I just use the little Idea-ology screw heads. They come in different, they're in a pack, but there's different sizes. And I just glued them over the holes with a little collage medium. So I make these ahead of time. So my plaque is like, it's just a finished embellishment. So I do the crayon, I do the gluing of that, I let them dry. So I have a whole bunch of these already done, because I agree. It adds, the more you can add to it is the more customized it becomes. Plus it has a wonderful little sentiment on there. I do like this one. I think I'll put Wonderful Life on the next one. Okay, I'm gonna set that aside. Okay, so now let's get to the wreath. We doing okay? I'm trying to read, I'm reading the chat, so it's good. Okay, so for the wreath, all right, we're going to use spray stains. Could you use mica stain like we used on the first background? Absolutely. Will it look shimmery and mica-y? Not as much as you would have hoped, or I would have hoped. I don't think it looks sparkly at all. But if that's a spray ink that you have, absolutely you can use it. You can use any kind of spray ink for this. This is what we're going to use to color the woodland garland, because this is a natural material. Sisal, it's like rope material. It's already wired. And you can create so many great colors, whatever colors you want to use. Some of my favorites, these are what I have. Bundled Sage, that's this one, glorious. It's such a light little minty color. This one is Forest Moss, dark. It's a dark, nice dark green. Peeled Paint. Peeled Paint is what I have inside here. This one's Evergreen Bough. And Crushed Olive is if you want that like neon bright green garland. So whatever it is that you're going to create. I think for this, I'll probably do, and you can mix, I'll probably do a little Peeled Paint and Bundled Sage, because well, both of those bottles are almost gone. So I might need the rest of both of these to do the garland. Okay. So what you're going to do for the garland, back to the splat box. This is really simple. I think it's really simple. Okay. Paper towel. And this is the same way if you wanted to do woodland trees. Take your color, spray, spray, spray. See, I told you this is almost gone. Come on, Bundled Sage. Don't fail me now. There we go. At least get some in there. Where's a little schnozzle? Oh no, this is empty. Okay, see, it's a good thing. Let's see, am I gonna have enough peeled paint? Nope. Okay. We're gonna use.
You need a little something.
No, I'm gonna actually just use what I said I was gonna use. It's not gonna work, but I said use what you have on hand. This is what I have on hand. Doesn't really show the stain. There we go. Miss Jennifer McGuire in the house. Jennifer, I'm surprised you're not napping or you have your feet up with a beer. She's been going nonstop, like I told you guys at the beginning, since, well, really fun. She's not even done. She's got another one tomorrow. That is a lot. It is a lot. Well, and besides just the doing, the prepping of the whole thing, getting it just done, but all for the good, right? All for the good. I love that. Okay, we're going to just do, this is a whole little medley. Now I'm going to look at this and go, it's my favorite. How did I do it? And I won't know. Okay. Okay, so once you cover it in color, you would take the same paper towel, roll it up, and then if you have gloves on, you can do that. You're just going to blot off the ink. You don't need to kill it. You just want to blot off the ink. So this is what you have. Oh, I like all those different colors. Nice. Okay. These come out to be 5-ish. They all measure the same, so that's about 5-ish. And they come, I think it's 4 in a pack. All right. So once this is done, I wanted it to be glittery because I wanted to have, you know, that really vintage look. And here's how you did it. Now this next part is not for the faint of heart, and that's fine. If you'd rather, you know, take a paintbrush and do it. Here's the thing. I've been using a paintbrush and collage medium on this for years. And I've just found that no matter how careful I am, I have little bits of collage medium flying all over the place. And it pretty much lands everywhere that I don't want it to be. So I'm going to use a piece that's dry. This isn't dry yet. You could dry this with a heat tool. Probably takes just a few minutes, or just set it aside to dry. I already have one dry for this purpose, and I'll probably glitter both of these that are dry. Here's what I do. Okay, no judgment. Take a container that's going to fit that piece. Take your glitter of choice. In my case, it's going to be the mixture. And you're going to put that in the container. So again, this is a mixture of rock candy regular and rock candy chunky. And then we're going to use collage medium because I want a nice heavy coating of glitter. Again, I'm going for that whole municipal wreath where it just looks like old school Christmas, all right? And I want it to really reflect that light and show sparkly goodness. Okay. Collage medium. Remove the rubber band. Open it up. Mari, would you mind grabbing me a couple baby wipes, please?
Sure.
You'll need a couple baby wipes handy because here we go. You're literally going to take collage medium on your fingers and you're going to just roll this around. Okay? So on your fingers, thanks.
Sure.
Literally just take that collage medium and roll this because we want a nice coating of collage medium. Place it in the glitter like you're putting cinnamon on a churro. A little cinnamon sugar on a churro, roll it in there. See, because the color's going to come off, but this is what you end up with. Oh my gosh, set that aside. So if you have a baby wipe handy, it'll just get rid of all that stuff. All the green, Grinch, everything will come off. But like I said, if you want gloves, no problem. I just find it easier. But you need that collage medium. You do. You need that stuff that's on there. So again, you're going to go in and you're just going to start. Maybe I'll even take some off the lid. And you're just rolling it around. So I'm not dragging it across. I'm literally just rolling it. When I see collage medium on my fingers, I'll just kind of touch it so it can get some collage medium on there. Put it in. Roll it back and forth. And clean it off. Okay. It's not the cleanest, but it is the most efficient. And it coats it like a dream. So it's really not bad. I do love churros. I see that, Mario. Churros are I do love churros. Churros are my jam. Oh my gosh. So good. All right. If you happen to get any green, like on the edge, that was just a little ink on my fingers, just clean that off with a baby wipe. There we go. So could you use another glue? Yes, whatever glue you want. But collage medium, because it's so thick, it's going to hold a nice thick layer of glitter. Okay, so this one will come out. And typically, like when I'm making them, I just let it dry in the glitter bath. But this is what we have. Look at these. Aren't they great? And we're going to let this dry. So I'm just going to leave it in there. Drying time on that, I don't know. I don't really know. I'm going to say no more than 15 minutes would be fine. But like I said, if you're doing this, that's probably you're setting it aside to dry and off you go. Okay. This one's already dry overnight. So here's what we're going to do to create our wreath. Find what's going to work for you. I just found like the same bottle of paint that I used. If I just wrap it around that bottle of paint and just kind of form it, it is a wire. It kind of creates this little rainbow, but it gives me that perfect little shape to make our wreath. Happy accident? Don't know, but that's what it's there. I just used a bottle of distress paint for it. We're going to go back to our candle that we did. Now, when you work with this, you have to be patient. You have to give yourself a little grace. Don't get frustrated. Don't get kind of all crazy in your head, because you can. It just takes a while for this to grab onto it because it needs enough hot glue to really bond to the surface. All right. Work on some sort of glass mat, or it could be a non-stick craft sheet, whatever it is that you're going to work with. So what I need to do is I pretty much work like at the halfway mark. See, I mentioned, now I have a glue drip in the way, but that's okay. I can either peel it off, cut it off, or I'm just going to glue right over the top of it. But here's what we're going to do. I'm going to apply a pretty good amount of glue to this. All right. And I'm going to set this down and just kind of put this, I'm kind of putting the garland into it, but I'm using the table as leverage. So I can just hold this. I'm trying to get it so you can see. I'm trying to just hold this into the side of the candle. You guys see that? So you need some leverage. That's the important thing. Because if you try to do this midair, which I did, that little thing like does a little maypole dance around the candle and drives you crazy. Or you grab the candle with the hot glue, which you wish you never did. But this is the part that it needs to dry and cool before you make the round. All right. So while that's drying, we're going to talk about the decorations. Decorations shouldn't be any surprise to you guys that watched our wonderful little baubles that we did. I think, did we do this during the Santa mugs, right? I think we did this one during the Santa mugs a couple weeks ago. But I pulled out the smallest, the two small sizes of those baubles, and these are my ornaments. So these tiny little ornaments, I mean, because you think like, what would I ever do with those little baubles? Because, you know, when you make the tray of them, the big one is really great. Well, these little ones are perfect for things like garland, to go on the trees, all of that. Okay. All right. So let's see. I really don't want to rush it. Typically, I would have left this for like, I'm going to say 5 minutes or so, but I'm not going to wait. All I'm going to do is now work kind of on the other side, because I work right-handed. So I'm not going to try to be a contortionist and work from the other side. I'm just going to do the same thing. And hopefully when I hold both sides, they'll still hold on. You'll see what I mean. I'm going to take some glue. And could you put on the end of this? You could put the glue wherever it's comfortable for you. I just know like by putting the glue on the candle, like where I want this to attach, it's good. And it's a pretty good size. You see what I mean? It's a pretty good blob of glue. But I'm going to bring this around and stick that into the glue. You just kind of get what you get. I know I'm kind of covering it up, but see how I made the wreath, I made contact, and now I just need my finger. I need to press against the greenery. Don't worry if this bends a little out of shape, but we need to hold this until it cools. And if you have a little fan, you can blow on it, you can sing a little song, whatever you need. Huh?
You want me to turn your fan on?
No, it's fine. I can wait. Once it grabs, well, this is true Tim MacGyver, because it's great that Mario's around for live, but he's busy doing his own thing when I'm crafting sometimes. So, all right. If you have a fan and it's positioned down, you can just turn that on. I use my little fan. Okay, you can hold that. Thanks, Mario. Sure. Mario's just hanging out looking at me like, you're crazy. Right. But if you have a little desk fan, just have the fan blowing air right here in this contact. Then you don't have to wait as long. That makes sense?
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. But still, I'm going to show the mechanics. The mechanics at this point are ugly, so don't worry. But you just need that glue to kind of set up, and then you can fix whatever is weird on the wreath. But the candle should pretty much touch the inside of the wreath. Thanks, Mario. It's not totally cool yet, but see, like that's our shape, and it's going to have a foundation once we add the bow. But this I want to cool this off. Thanks.
Their little fan sure does blow.
Yeah, I love this one. Nice little rechargeable. It's really good. Okay. So if for whatever reason you do this and a side flies open, this is what I'm saying. Like, just don't lose your cool. Just add more glue, set it there, hold it there. But those are just some things that are a little bit easier. The brushstroke for the wreath is called Woodland Garland. Woodlands is a part of Idea-ology, and there's these little strips. There's like, I think 4 in a pack. Okay, so that's what we have. So far, so good. Little dance. Now let's add our ornaments. And our ornaments, really, you can do, I don't know, whatever. If you don't want to add ornaments, you don't have to. If you want to, maybe you have little bells, or maybe this was going to be like sparkly glitter. Could be whatever, but I'm just going to use baubles and kind of glue it. This is the part that I think was really interesting, because it's like, whoa, that's really horrible. You don't see it. Smoke and mirrors. That's the beauty of what we do, right? So for the ornaments, what I like to do is I'll still work on the table, and I hope you can see it. I'll try to hold it up when I can. Start wherever you want, but just take a glue gun, take the tip of the glue gun, put like a dot of glue onto the wreath, do a little swirly dismount so you don't have any glue strings. Take whatever size bauble you want, find the glue, and you need to push it into the bottle brush, not on top of it, literally into it. That's why I'm holding it for a second, and I'll see, that's what we want. We want to push it into the wreath. So we just do one at a time, and any glue strings will just peel right off. So that's why we're kind of working on the table. Dot of glue on the wreath and bauble into the wreath. Don't try to hold on to a circular sphere and put hot glue on it. It won't end well, okay? And if this doesn't work for you, maybe you want some that, are a little easier to grab. Whatever's going to work, that's going to be easier for me. And you just repeat the process. So you can cluster them, you can have them spread out, you can map them out, but it's a little dot. And this detail glue gun, that's the magic. That's it. If you struggle with glue guns, it's probably because you just don't have that glue gun, and it changes everything, because it just puts it right where you need it. See how I can embed that right in there? And you just need to hold it for a second, because it will pop back out if you don't let it cool for a second. So that's it. All right, nice. I saw someone ask about the fan. I saw someone answered. That's where I got it. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Mario. I just glanced. I'm crafting. He's like, I answered. I'm like, yeah, I'm crafting. All right. Dot, swirl so I don't have the string. I'm going to go green or not. I'm going to go with wherever these pinchers grab. And then you just have to remember like where in the vicinity your glue was. Push that in. Nice. And again, don't worry about the glue strings. We can clean that up. But this is what we're doing. It couldn't be easier. You just go for it. So now I'm just going to kind of get in a groove. I don't have a pattern, a rhyme or reason. I like the idea of different shapes. Different sizes. So I don't necessarily want to do all the same, but if that's what you have because you're using something else, go ahead. That's going to totally work. Okay. All right, I'll put another one over here. Little dot. Now I'm just going to set the glue gun there. Doesn't have time to even go back to the mat. You guys can relate. We have all the little tools, the little heat mats, everything to hold it, and then in the thick of it, you just chuck it wherever it goes. It is what it is. Okay. This is the fun part. So this was, I'll go back, I'll say it a million times. You're going to hear it so many times. Compartmental making. Oh, hey, that bauble needs to be next. The idea of doing these, like I'd sit down with a whole plate of already wreathed candles. So I'd have 5 or 6, however many you're making, and now you're decorating all of them. It does make the process so much more fluid. And you feel like at the end of the day, I also think you feel more efficient. You look at it and you're like, I got a lot done today. Look at all the stuff I did. Because you have stuff that you actually finished. Whereas when you work on one thing like I'm doing now, you're like, my gosh, I spent my whole day and I made one thing. It's a different mindset, isn't it? It absolutely is. Okay, let's put another one over here. Little dot. Where do I want to go? Well, let's do this little silvery one. That'll be nice. I think the hardest part is remembering where you put the glue. Okay, and one more here. Let's go big. Little dots. Let's do this big, beautiful teal one that's just hanging out of the malt shop. All right, push in. There we go. So there's our adorned wreath. Okay. Next up, my favorite part, my favorite find of the year. If you've watched any live, you know my struggle.
I know, this is what you're talking about.
Pink, pink, pink. The bow. Where do you see this? Shut up. Fabric tied, beautiful trimmed bow stickers. Are you kidding me? And it's flat. Like if I were to make a bow like this, it would look like a chia pet. It would be so thick and chunky to get it that small. It's already done. And I was like, I got to do something. I do. I just like, I am in bow heaven. And they already have the foam thing. You don't even need glue. You're done. You stick it and forget it. So that's it. Look at it. And it was like, could it be more perfect? Fill in the blanker. Come on now. The thing that probably would have taken 30 minutes of my make, done. I was like, yeah, I bought one of these. I wish I would have bought 10. I have like 6 left. Yeah, it was gone. Okay, that's it. Now we put it together. It really couldn't be easier. My word, my word. So the tails, I put it where I want it, and then I can just kind of put the tails of it inside because it's going to do what it's going to do anyway because of the snow, right? So the snowy part. So what I want to do, hold on. What I want to do is shut this fan off because I have a fan blowing and why isn't it shutting? Okay, there we go. So remember I talked about the taper. So the taper of that kind of that large area, that's where this is going to go. So you just want to make sure everything should kind of fit. And it's like, it's just made to order. Isn't that crazy? And just make sure everything kind of slides under it. It'll fit. And just make it work. All right, get the ribbon tucked in there. Boom. And it should have like a nice little flush finish. If it doesn't fit, it's because you're trying to put it into the skinny side. See, come on. It's just made to order. All right. Then at this point, it really just depends on like how you want to approach things. If you're going to add snow and glitter, this is the time you have to do it. If you're not, if you're going to skip this step, then you probably are going to want to get creative with what's down here because, well, that's going to be a problem. But this little bit, like where that ribbon is, don't worry about it because it's going to get covered up by the lantern itself, right? So if you catch the tails, don't get all panicky and try to fix it. It's just good. But this just fits in friction fit. There's no glue. We're going to take mica flakes. I just like mica flakes. These are synthetic mica flakes. They're nice and flaky, but if you got the new snowflake mixture that we did this year, that's mica and glitter, you can use really whatever you want as your shakeable. I wanted stuff that would have the least amount of potential static charge because once this is built, it's built. And I wanted the snow to be really heavy and sit at the bottom. So that's why I chose the two heaviest things. That would be mica flakes and chunky glitter. So I don't even use my mixture for this. I use like this and this. What you need to do to get this in is if you look down, this is the side you have your opening. Your baubles are actually creating a little space between the wreath and the acrylic. On this side, it's totally smashed. So you won't get, I mean, it goes edge to edge. So we're just going to use that to actually put in mica and glitter. So take whatever little device you have. I have a little spoon. It's a little idea-ology spoon. And just start spooning it in. Give it a little tappity tap. It starts falling to the bottom. And off you go. This is a fun part too. So this is if you have someone helping you make and you really don't want them to do anything, this is the thing. You know? Because sometimes they're like, can I help you color this? And you're like, no, I got this because you want it a certain way. This is always great to have somebody just help you add add those little details. Now, when you get in here and it gets stuck around the bow, you can just shake it to the side, shake it up and down. But see, you're able to kind of work that snow where you want it to be. Nice, nice, nice. Set that off to the side. Just gonna add some glitter. Glitter. I love the chunky glitter. I probably use more of that in this mix, just because I like the sparkliness of it. But it's easy to fall through. Still gonna go into mica. You never really know. You just kind of find where your opening is. But it's gonna have a mind of its own once it's in there. And if something goes horribly wrong, you can always pull out the bottom, falls out, and you start over. So don't freak your freak with this part. This is the part that's just gonna be fun. But yeah, Snowflake is like already mixed for you. So it doesn't have chunky though, but it has different sizes of rock candy and it has a little iridescent, but it does not have chunky. Okay, we got our glitter. And see, our glitter just kind of fills in the bottom and it just makes it really snowy. And again, when this is together, I can flip this over and that will probably fall out of the back of the candle, but I also like it on the bow. Okay, in the home stretch. So now we take our lantern. There's our piece. Our base, we'll use this one with the light. We'll use a little screwdriver and a cup where I actually kept the little screws. Okay, and we build. Oh, this isn't the one I want. I thought, did I not paint one completely? I have one. I was going to say, I should have prepped one. Yes, this is painted completely, not the half painted one. All right, so now we just slide this in. Take this. The light just goes right in there. It just like threads its way up and the bottom's the bottom. It is what it is. And then you take the smallest screws ever and you put it together. So you put in a little screw, tiny little screwdriver, and you build it. Oh my word. Well, I'm trying to do screws to the iPhone. I got it. There we go.
It's so fun to watch you.
Yeah, I think what some people may or may not realize, when I do lives, all I see is the screen of my phone. Like the phone is in my line of sight, so I can't see my hands when I look down. I have to back up to, so sometimes, you know, objects are closer than they appear, that sort of thing. See, like that, I look through the screen and it's like, I think I'm lined up, but in reality, I'm not. That's really why I mean, gosh, you remember when I was trying to thread that stupid string in the Santa mug? That was it. Because I was looking at the phone. I'm like, it looks lined up, and then it just wasn't. There we go.
I can see it perfectly.
Yeah.
But I'm not working through the phone.
No, that's the whole difference. Okay. Yeah. There you go. I got the bows at Hobby Lobby as well. Yeah, ours is like, it's not even 5 minutes from the house. It isn't.
Like, I think it's like getting a little magnetic or something.
I think so. It likes to do a dance.
Dancing all over the place.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. The build. Yay. All right. So now you can get just kind of a little aggressive because it's all put together. Oh, look at that. So cute. Okay. Yep. Lights up. And I love that the light, see how it's actually a flicker light? Isn't that cool? I mean, come on. That is just... So to finish it off, we have this. Now, this you can do a lot of things with it. You could glue it on. It would totally glue. But you can also just use foam adhesive. Foam adhesive to me is the easiest, but use what you're going to feel good about. I just cut a piece in half and I kind of want to fit it into this track right here. See this little track? Because the bottom of this, see how it goes in, it's flat and it comes back up. So that very base track, this foam square sticks up enough that it grabs the plaque. So it just makes it easier. Uh-oh, let me just look down. Did I lose a screw already? Oh no, I have them all. These are just extra. No, it's because I took apart many. So thanks, I put that back in there. All right, so I just press that onto the foam and it's like, it's done. So I don't have to wait for glue to dry because see how it's like actually wider than the trough? That's the trick. So how easy is that, honestly? When you think about doing this in a compartmental situation, I mean, especially the pre-made bows, but those of you that are bow savvy, you got it.
That really is a beautiful mark.
You can totally do that. I love it. Thanks. They were really fun. But yeah, if you guys have no trouble with bows, you can sit down and make them and probably iron them flat. Great. I obviously can't. So, you know, maybe make it a deal where you're the bow maker. All right. So there we go. We have that. We have our beautiful, I'm just going to put stuff in the screen because I think it's pretty. We have those. We have the baubles. Can you grab those snowflakes and
Sure.
thank you. We've got our little Santa, or not our Santa, our snowman hats. Those are fun. I just like that. Ooh, look at that. Look at these beauties. The pine cones. Oh, and we have this glorious green one. Look how that dried. That minty one. Told you, it just dries to perfection. Thanks, Mario.
You're welcome.
And then a whole handful of snowflakes.
Want anything else
A
from
lot
over
of
here?
great ideas. No, I'm good. Thank you. Great ideas. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Those are some holiday decor ideas.